Well, boys, Merry Christmas.
Papa?
Merry Christmas.
Yes,
Merry
Papa?
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
I've got your Christmas presents right here.
Okay.
And
Oh.
you're just going to have to take them from me, and then we will use the magic of Foley to make it sound like you are opening these gifts.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to take this present. What could it possibly be?
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I'm opening
it's fully
it.
wrapped. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Wow, there's so much plastic.
Oh yeah. There's layers of paper.
Okay, I ripped it off. It's gone.
Okay.
It's okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
It's a little Goku.
It's a small Goku. Last year you gave us a small Goku. This
Yeah.
is a slightly larger Goku.
Just a little bit larger.
Yeah, just a little bit
Yeah.
larger. I noticed that Brian's has a base and mine can't fully stand upright.
Okay, so here's the thing. I tried to get
you
you
buy
guys.
these used, don't
I
you?
know, okay.
Yes,
These
yes.
are-
I
these
buy
are
them used
ones.
I buy them used at Book Off.
These are used Gokus.
Oh, that would explain it. Oh, wait, no shit. Mine is a magnet in the ass.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. I wanted to, because last year I was able to get both of you the same Goku.
Yeah.
This year
Yeah.
I could not find two of the same Goku in a size that was slightly larger than last year's Gokus.
Okay.
Right.
And so Brian, your Goku is one that can stand up on its own.
Yeah. And it's also in two halves for
Yeah, I
some
don't know
reason.
why. Maybe like it's a swappable Goku.
Oh, like different poses, maybe.
You can separate the top of the Goku from the bottom of the
Yeah.
Goku, or I guess if you just want to keep it together, you could just put a little super glue in there and it would stay in place.
Sure. Yeah.
Mine spins.
So, do you guys want to just sort of describe your Gokus now that you've opened them up? For
mine somewhat inexplicably has transparent, like pink red hair.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've never seen a Goku do this. This actually means that my Goku is in distress.
Yeah. You
They
think
only
he's
do
being very
this.
cute. Yeah.
They only do this when they're in extreme
No,
Yeah,
Extreme
but
distress.
this is an
duress.
adult Goku. He's very dehydrated. You can see from his muscle tone.
Right. A lot of veins.
And he has just shot.
Yeah, he's
He has
He has just shot.
Yeah. My Goku, you can. He's again an adult Goku. I would say
Yeah.
in an extreme lunge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can actually turn him around. You can manipulate all of his stuff. You can actually make him look like he's in a Greek tragedy, and that he's raising his arms to the sky and cursing Zeus. And he has a little magnet in the butt, so I can stick him on
Yeah.
my fridge.
yeah, and this is I figure Brian, you can take that Goku and place it right next to the Goku you currently have.
Yep, and I
AJ,
sure will.
You can take that Goku, put him up on your fridge, whatever it is that you want.
Yeah.
Or I could put him inside me and get a little fuller.
Welcome to the worst of all possible worlds, the first and only podcast that gets fuller every year.
Oh, boy.
I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm getting so full. I'm the worst of
Wow.
all possible, Brian's.
We're fucking back, boys.
Turgid.
And this is a possibly unedited episode. We'll see
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah, we wanted to give ourselves
We try to do this around Christmas,
yeah,
right?
make
Yeah.
the labor a little lighter on us.
Yeah.
Observe the holiday season by actually taking a holiday for ourselves. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
one very easy way for us to do an episode that we can easily put together off the top of our heads without a great deal of editing is, of course, to do Whit's Endless Summer.
Yes. So I hope you enjoy Adventures in Odyssey now with extra sirens. And I'm going to open my Coke can now.
All right. Hey, there we go. There we go.
That's also the police coming for us.
But,
for doing another year of What's Endless Summer.
one of the police cars just has a Coke can opening sound that it plays on a repeat loop.
Don't stand so. Oh my God,
Right.
they're here.
Oh my
They're
God.
already here, Brian.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, this is going to be our last episode that we are recording pretty much this year, and I just wanted to start by saying this has been a really nice year. I'm just going to do an irony-free thing right now,
Oh, okay.
fully free of irony, and just
AJ
say
tried to ruin it.
Yeah, he did.
I did try to ruin
He
it.
did. Yeah, and I'm gonna be sappy and sentimental for a moment.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And just say that
I like it when you're sappy.
yeah, this is a gift that I'm giving you, the gift of words as well as the gift of Gokus. No, it's been a really great year. We've done a lot of really cool shit. The show has grown. We've gotten a lot of listeners. Those of you listening right now obviously are among them, and we appreciate all of you. And yeah, it's been really exciting to do this show together with you guys, continue to watch it grow, and make something cool together. So it feels like a good thing for us to be doing right now during the holiday season, which sometimes is also the arguing season.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's really lovely to see that the podcast continues to grow every year, just as our Gokus continue to grow. And I'm beginning to think that maybe it is actually our patrons that are filling Goku's tum-tum.
It might be. It might be. If you have helped to fill a Goku in the past, sound off in the comments and let us know what you think.
And send us the links, I don't know, to that fan art.
And don't argue, because remember,
This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season.
That's true.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
a really
True.
good point.
Truer words never spoken. Hey, wait, what episodes are we even doing today?
Well,
what are the holiday classics that we're covering?
So we're going back in time. Remember how I said Whit's not coming back. Whit's
No.
dead. Hal Smith is gone. Yeah, we brought Whit back. We brought Whit
He's
back.
back. Dude,
One final time with the Hal Smith Whit. I swear to God, this time I really mean it.
Thank you.
Whit in a Manger.
And we, of course, will be covering that in the second half of today's episode, the episode that does, in fact, include Whit.
He what?
And I will say, yeah, that was a little bit of a jump scare for me, hearing that shit again. We're doing our best. I felt like AJ in that moment. I was scared.
Oh, sure, yeah. I actually felt very much the same way, Josh.
You also felt like AJ?
I also, it's rare. It's very, very rare these days. But yeah, no, I hearing Hal Smith again, I was just like, at first I was like, oh, he's alive. And then I went, oh, he's alive. Because I remember just like how immediately he jumps into manipulating people.
Right.
Especially in those latter
he's a real
episodes.
jerk
Yeah, he's
in that trilogy.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we're not there yet.
No.
Because
We're not going to the imagination station. We are firmly walling off your imagination.
That's right. Marshall
And your
Younger.
station.
Marshall Younger has a way of doing that, doesn't he? As a writer,
Yeah.
he because the first episode that we are recapping for this week's Wits Endless Summer, which, in case you're new here, is a series in which we review episodes of the children's radio drama Adventures in Odyssey, produced by Focus on the Family.
Yes.
We're listening here to episode 289, A Call for Reverend Jimmy.
Which I think this title, my guess, is that it's sort of a loose reference to Two Mules for Sister Sarah. That's what I think was bouncing around in Marshall Younger's head.
wait a minute. Whoa. That is so many more words than what is given here.
That's about the same number of words.
I'm not familiar with what is that?
A Call for Reverend Jimmy, 5 words.
Yeah.
Two Mules for Sister Sarah.
Oh,
also
okay,
5
I
words.
guess, but I mean, they're just not similar enough for me.
No,
if it's
but
an actual
still,
parody,
it's still like amount.
I see.
Noun.
Yeah, Brian is
For.
fisting something. He's illustrating this by fisting his own hand.
Religious position name, right? So we've got the basic structure there of the classic Sidney Poitier film,
Right.
where he
AJ,
builds her
you're-
a damn chapel.
Are you not down, AJ?
No, I am down. I'm just.
Okay.
Does this follow the same plot? Is that movie?
No,
I've never
it
seen
doesn't
it.
follow that plot. I just this is just a contention that I hold in my heart.
Guys,
I see.
guys.
Yeah.
This is the start of the holiday season.
I don't.
This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season.
I didn't think we were arguing. I thought we were having a spirited discussion.
Well, now you're still arguing, to which I say,
This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season.
Oh, this really is the Whitaker of my discontent.
we are so fucking back. It is Whit's Endless Christmas.
Oh, Lord.
And so we've gone a little bit back in time, but we're still in kind of the same place as Donna as Preacher's Kid,
Yes.
right?
Episode 289 places us in, originally when it was aired, November 19 of 1994. And as I mentioned a moment ago, this is a Marshall Younger episode.
Yeah, so this is 11 episodes before Preacher's Kid, which is essentially the last Barclays episode where they're like regularly recurring. We will, of course, get two-parters with the whole Barclay family going forward, but they are essentially not in Odyssey anymore.
Right.
Do they ever make like a huge comeback, or are they
No,
pretty much abandoned?
you will occasionally after the two-parters that are a couple years apart. You will get a couple of little appearances from Jimmy Barclay.
Sure.
And I think there's a couple of appearances of George and Mary that happen much, much later. and Donna can go fuck herself, I guess. I don't know.
So just to pull us back sort of to where we stand right now, if you are just getting caught up with us for the first time here, the Barclay family at this point in Adventures in Odyssey is sort of our everyman family, right?
Yeah.
We've got Father George, who has, as of late, become a pastor. Before that, he was a salaryman, and then he found the call.
He was a Japanese salaryman.
That's right.
So many public apologies.
And he is married to a woman named Mary.
Mary Barclay.
Mary Barclay, she doesn't really do much. She just kind of hangs around the house.
No, they never really give her anything to do.
Yeah, no. She makes the mom from A Christmas Story look like Hamlet.
But,
to be fair, no one ever does anything in Odyssey unless they're a spy.
What is this? Gilead Lane?
The thing is that Chris will occasionally, at the end of these particular episodes, be like, wow, that was crazy. And I'm like, what was it?
So they're like, this is not a winner, Chris. You got to gas it up at the end.
Yeah.
So Mary has recently learned of a surprise pregnancy. She is, a bit older than you would usually expect, but she got pregnant. And
George is the father. We want to be very clear.
Yes, George is the father.
Well, well, and so this means that her two teenage children, Jimmy and Dot. Wait a second. Jimmy, Donna, Mary,
Mary,
George.
That's not anything. That's not anything. No.
So they're gonna have a new younger sibling,
right? And Jimmy and Donna.
I'm so mad. I'm so furious I didn't get that.
I don't know what you're talking about. Josh, if you could keep going.
Yeah, so Jimmy and Donna then, yes, they're teenagers. They're starting to sort of come into their hormones in an aggressive way. We'll remember that...
I wouldn't have phrased it like that.
I would not have phrased it like that either.
That's okay. I'm not going to argue with you.
This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season.
Because remember, there was the episode where Jimmy started to have his voice change and, was experiencing puberty.
Which was the first time that they were planning on writing out Dave Griffin, the actor, because his voice had changed and he was not valuable to them anymore.
And then similarly, Donna's adventures in adolescence have largely involved, clothes and,
boys.
she's clothes and boys, dressing like a slut.
And burning down a house.
And burning down a house, literally burning down the house. So
just girly things.
This is where we are. And into this situation then, we see George Barclay, who is the paterfamilias, and Lawrence, who is Jimmy's friend, is out here clowning on him at the beginning of this episode by switching around the letters at the church that George preaches at.
Yeah.
Anagramming.
He makes a little anagram. And the anagram that he comes up with is he takes he takes the full phrase of Reverend George Barclay and he rearranges those letters to be large rag boy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then says, I left out some of the letters, to which I say, you left out most of the letters.
That's fine.
Did you come up with some anagrams, AJ?
Hit the mic.
Yep.
Bravery calendar. A cranberry delve. Barnacled reverie. Barred relevancy. A cleverer brandy. Cry, navel breeder. Randy cab reveler.
Husband.
Nervy crab leader. Very carnal breed. And dry venereal crab.
Those are all pretty good.
Why did I ever want to do this?
That was me after asking for the anagrams.
That's where George got the dry venereal crab, actually.
Oh, right.
Was riding that horse.
That makes sense.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Question mark for that?
Yeah.
Anagrams don't make any sense to me. I don't know how anyone has a brain for them. It's just like, wow, yeah, those sure are the letters.
Well, if I can be really honest with you, it was because I was so bored listening to the rest of this episode that's what I was doing while listening to the episode.
Fair, because this episode really is just and then.
And as with Donna being menaced by the local busybodies of her church, Jimmy also, it turns out, had previously been menaced by the church's local busybodies, at which we hear this woman, Miss unmarried, Miss Jeffries, talking to Jimmy.
Well, hello there, Jimmy.
Oh, hi, Miss Jeffries.
Your father preached quite a good sermon today.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
When are you going to get up there?
Get up where?
Come on.
In the pulpit to preach for us.
Oh, Well, I don't think...
As a matter of fact, I heard somebody say just the other day that they thought you'd be a good preacher.
Go away.
Like,
This is real, though.
This is real. Speaking as the kid who was voted most likely to become a pastor by his own church adults.
Yeah.
Interestingly, though, your dad is not a preacher.
No, though he does teach Sunday school.
So does mine. Yeah.
So there you go. But yes,
Mine does not.
Not yet.
this woman, Miss Jeffries, very notably is not Mrs. Erskine, who's the other busybody who shows up in that other episode we listened to.
Yeah, they need to do something about the broads at this church,
No
right?
kidding.
Paul said you're not supposed to talk, right?
Jesus Christ.
Get your bitches in order, George. Jesus.
So Miss Jeffries comes
Yeah.
up and says, this thing comes down in the generations, right?
Yeah.
And it's very clear that nobody else wants this job, and to which I say, maybe you should make the job a little more appealing if nobody is like actually vying to be the pastor.
Well, would you want to pastor these fucking people?
No!
Yeah, well, here's an interesting thing. My pastor from the church I went to growing up, that my parents still unfortunately go to, recently,
Pastor? I hardly future her.
Come on.
yeah, about a year ago, retired, and he cannot get replaced. They can't find anyone
Wow.
to replace him, which means
I
that like my dad is preaching like fucking once every eight Sundays or whatever. It's just ridiculous.
Well,
no one wants to work anymore.
I feel like we could go down this path a lot further if we wanted.
Yeah,
and talk
churches are
about-
dying.
Churches are in fact dying. You know,
Yeah.
this is a phenomenon that is resulting from only a certain type of person sticking around, particularly after the pandemic. Everything has shifted. I mean, this obviously is not that environment. This is 1994. But it's interesting that on some level, it seems like the writers are kind of conscious of this in a way,
Yeah.
which again goes back to focus on the family and their whole thing, which is, standing athwart the fucking thing saying stop, right? That's kind of their deal.
Yeah, they also just recently on their Instagram page, the Adventures in Odyssey people released a short documentary about why your child should not look at screens, but should in fact listen to Adventures in Odyssey. And the child that they use to actually promote this is a child who gets a concussion and can't look at screens anymore, and therefore must listen instead. And the guy says that he found Jesus Christ and asked his dad if he could become a Christian within 2 weeks of listening to Adventures in Odyssey. So that is now their new gambit. It's just like they're taking this very real problem of too much screen time for kids, and then figuring out how to maneuver that into how can we get them to pay us money for our radio drama.
This is not anything new, though.
No,
I mean,
they just found a new angle, which I'm
classic
surprised
story.
about.
Yeah, and nor is a child listening to somebody saying you need to accept Jesus and turning around and talking to their parent and saying I want to accept Jesus, much like I did with Salty the Singing Songbook circa 1995.
Did Salty convert you, Josh?
Salty made me into a Christian, yeah.
Wow.
Which is, we're going to have to talk about him on the show at some point.
My God.
all that in spite of his language,
Yeah.
his salty language.
Well, that guy curses up a blue streak.
Hey.
Because he's blue? Yeah.
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 He's got quite a spine. I don't know.
He's got integrity.
So George also needs a
backbone.
fill-in for the class, a
Right,
Sunday
right,
school
right.
class, and Jimmy's
Because
like,
nobody wants to work anymore.
yeah, this is Lawrence's Sunday school class, and George is like, yeah, Lawrence fucking sucks, and no
Right.
one wants to teach him.
It's like
apparently,
it's like a class full of a bunch of Lawrences is
yeah,
what
a
he
bunch
says.
of little brace-toothed
Yeah.
little kids.
Yeah, it's really helping Lawrence's self-esteem, I'm sure.
Jesus. Well, Jimmy's pursuing the cause, right? So he's going to get Jimmy to be the Sunday school teacher next week. Meanwhile, Donna always gets like the worst end of all of these stories.
Yes.
Which is not unrealistic necessarily, because George is using her in his sermons all the time.
Just straight up clowning on her.
yeah.
Hey, that was a great story your dad told about you in church.
Don't remind me.
Did you really try to glue your hair back on your head when you didn't like your haircut?
I was 5 years old.
Mom took a picture of it. It's downstairs. You want to see it?
All right.
Don't you dare, Jimmy. I can't believe Dad told that story in a sermon.
Are you kidding me? The crowd loved it.
Yeah.
Yeesh. And
Yeah.
look, as
Unpleasant.
podcasters, this is a thing that comes up sometimes.
Yeah. We have all three of us told a story where either I deleted it
Right.
or like you messaged me or like let's not put that in.
Yeah. And because it is that thing that like you want to share all of yourself, but then that can also implicate other people in a way that is not good and not fair to them. And, this episode's whole thing is like, that's a thing that preachers do at first, but they'll get over it at a certain point.
Well, that's Jimmy's contention, at least.
Yeah. And then by the end, I think George does apologize for it, but it doesn't.
Which is interesting. He actually does proffer a full apology. And he's like, I really don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt you. It's shocking.
Well, what it feels like to me is that maybe, just maybe, in the episodes leading up to this episode, maybe the writers have incorporated perhaps a story into Adventures in Odyssey from somebody in their life.
I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point.
And this is their way of apologizing for it.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
And that might have been their justification, the one that Jimmy puts forth. It's just like, well, you have to use everything in your own life, because that's what they teach you when you're writing, right? If you go into any sort of writing, so they're like, write what you know, write what you know.
Yeah.
But that can be inherently exploitative of other people's experiences.
Write only what you don't know and plagiarize if you can.
That's right. The James Somerton School.
We are all wearing turtlenecks. You can't see it, but we've really adopted his whole lifestyle.
You should see my hair.
Turtlenecks.
You should see my hair right
so
now.
dimly lit.
My hair
I
turned all the lights off.
I can't see anything. It's like Thief 2.
I'm recording us on a very expensive camera, but I'm only using the sound.
Yes.
So, Donna's pretty sick of this, but she's now going to the cafeteria. We're at school. She's meeting with her young friend Jack.
Yes, her young friend Jack.
Yeah, this
Jack
is
Davis.
not Jack Allen. Now, I want to be clear about this. You will, of course,
He's an
remember
old friend.
that there is a man named Jack Allen who has sort of become the replacement Whit at this point. This is Jack Davis, who we did hear from him as well back before his voice changed. Mm-hmm. Now he's all grown up and he's ready to fuck.
And he's mostly written out of the show, but we have had him recur a couple of times, and we get a very interesting line from him in this scene because he says this.
He what?
Sorry, I think I accidentally hit the wrong one. He says,
He what?
No, that's the original.
No,
That's the original.
Go
Wait a
back,
second.
go back.
Okay.
He what?
Oh, sure enough.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, it's so wild to me that it is so clearly now a directorial choice.
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't a House
isn't
Smith
even alive.
Yeah, he's gone. Oh no! Unless
He has possessed the body of Donald Long.
it's the younger clone of him.
I think, and Jack is saying this, I think, in response to Donna, like, talking about one of her dad's stories, I think. Where
I don't know.
it's
This
like,
was a long scene, so I didn't grab a whole lot of it.
It doesn't matter.
It also sounds like he is like 39 years old, and then he just happens
his
to be
voice
going to a
really
high
does
school.
make him sound quite adult. But this is also Donald Long's last episode as Jack Davis. He does one more episode that's a kids radio episode that we're not going to listen to immediately after this one. So he's gone. So all of these characters are filtering out.
He
what?
He leaves?
Yeah, he leaves. He leaves
right through the no door with old
and,
Jack.
I think Lucy Cunningham Schultz still sticks around. But fun fact, Donald Long, who plays Jack Davis, married the actor who played Lucy Cunningham Schultz.
Oh, no way.
Whoa, that's incredible.
They are husband and wife.
Are they still married now?
From what I can tell, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
How about that? Good for them.
Good for them.
That rules, man.
We love a showman.
We encourage workplace romances.
Oh, yeah.
If there's
That's
one
right.
thing
That's why we're a throuple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The fan art, Josh. The fan art.
You're the one who keeps saying that.
I know.
Sorry,
it's almost like
sorry.
I'm trying to leave a little hint.
Sorry. I shouldn't be yelling. I forget my place.
It's the start of the. It's not the start of the arguing
No,
season.
it's certainly not.
This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season.
And I'm just saying, for the holiday season, if you want to get us a gift, I don't know, maybe draw us as a throuple.
No, please do not do that. For the love of Christ.
Highlighter. It's my preferred form
We can't
of art.
edit this out,
It's a
AJ.
highlighter, yeah.
Filth. So Jimmy wants to be a pastor. He's wearing a tie. He is wearing a necktie at school to like get into the pastor mode. He's doing a lot of research.
Sounds like this.
And Jack has a comment about all of this.
You guys crack me up. What a weird family.
He's
Well,
right.
it's because of Jimmy. Well, he's always been weird. I'm normal.
Maybe now, but you didn't sound all
That's
that normal
my
Sunday
line.
night when your dad told that story about you in church.
Don't bring that up.
I mean, asking your parents for a private phone line is not a normal thing for a 6-year-old to do.
I don't want to talk about it.
It was a great story.
Everybody in the whole church turned around and looked at me.
Weird.
Don't worry about it. You were 6 years old.
That's what Jimmy said. But at this rate, everybody's going to think I was a juvenile delinquent.
Well,
Why?
for a juvenile delinquent, you turned out fine.
So Jack's trying to fuck.
Yeah, no, 100%.
We didn't listen to this episode, but Jack and Donna have actually gone out on a date before.
Oh.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Well, they don't seem to be dating now, and then she almost dates the McGee and me kid.
Okay.
So,
So George actually crawled up from the back seat and
Yeah,
started
right,
quoting
right,
Bible
right,
verses at them.
yeah.
Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy, I hardly know her anatomy.
You added some syllables there.
I did. I'm a regular Marshall Younger.
Yes. So, after this interaction between Donna and Jack, we go back to Jimmy, because Jimmy is going hard in the paint to prep for this Sunday school session, right?
Yeah.
He's like, my dad's a pastor. Presumably, this combined with the conversation I had with the church lady means that I have the gift. This means that I need to prepare the best Sunday school lesson of all time for 11 Lawrences.
Yeah, he realizes that the gift is not enough. You have to do the work. You have to know the subject matter if you're going to talk to people about it, because that's how it works, right? You're supposed to be able to teach people things. So he's doing all kinds of ridiculous things, like looking up a Greek word. How dare he?
Yeah, he's got the concordance out.
He's got maps.
Yep.
Yeah, he's trying to plot the entire history of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, the rise and the fall.
In order to give proper context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does he think this is? A podcast?
Well, here's the thing, though. Jimmy sort of makes the rookie mistake of trying to bring too much into one lesson, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking as somebody who has experience as a professional, instructor and instructional designer, instructional designer.
I'm not going to tell you how to do your job.
Big instructional Bailey.
I certainly, these are classic rookie errors, and I think he puts too much pressure on himself here.
Yeah. So here he is at they do a whole joke where he's talking about the expansion of the Roman Empire. He says Asia Minor. It's not funny, so I just cut ahead to the questions. Jimmy's taking questions now at the end of Sunday school.
Are there any questions? Yes, Lawrence?
Will Mr. Grant be back next week?
Yes, he will. Any more questions? Lawrence?
So you're not going to teach anymore?
No.
Ever?
Well, I don't know about ever.
But if you do teach again, will we know a week ahead of time?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, that's all.
All right, you guys are dismissed.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah, Lawrence?
Remember when you said you wanted to be a preacher?
Yeah?
Well, never mind.
Fucking wrecked. I mean, to be fair, Lawrence has been bullied this entire episut, so the fact that he gets to deliver this,
He gets a good one in, yeah.
Also, it is vaguely implied that Lawrence is really attracted to Mrs. Barclay, at least a little bit earlier in the episode. So I do like to think that he believes this. Yeah.
What in the text makes you say that?
I did have a quote
and
here.
I'm saying, again, this is not to bring about the arguing season. I just didn't pick up on that.
I didn't pick up on this either. I think you have a weird Freudian thing going on. I am arguing.
Look, hey, is it my fault that Mrs. Barclay has an ass like a Pixar mom?
She's got a Mrs. Matt ass.
Yeah, come on. He's always asking so what's your mom up to? And I'm like, that's a weird question to ask your friend.
He does do that a lot. That is a recurring thing throughout.
Yeah. So I think maybe George Barclay doesn't like him because he's just like, stop hitting on my wife.
Sure, I'll take it.
Lawrence got that Riz.
What?
So Jimmy is fully demoralized, but now we got to bring Donna down. We got to get her down to the very bottom of the depths of the ocean. So George has decided, it's time for another funny little story.
Ooh.
We were getting ready to go to my son Jimmy's awards banquet. He was getting a certificate for being a member of the yearbook committee.
What?
We all packed up and I started to go upstairs to say goodbye to Donna. When
a major
she came downstairs
award.
all dressed up. She wanted to go to the banquet. I told her she didn't have to go. I knew she had already planned to go to a party thrown by one of her friends, but She told me that she wanted to support her brother. When we got there, I quickly figured out that supporting her brother wasn't her only motivation. It was, of course, a boy.
Oh no.
And she proceeded to stare at this boy throughout the entire
Why would you do
program.
this?
Oh no.
Is it Donna?
Her mom continues to be completely oblivious. It's like, what's the problem, Donna?
Mary, what the fuck do you think the problem is?
And the boy is not just any boy.
She was very distracted because Lawrence was giving her a little wink.
Right.
It's not just any boy, it's Jack Davis.
Yeah.
And Jack Davis is there at the church that he goes to, presumably with his parents, who we never meet.
I mean, thank God that Jack is also equally as oblivious, apparently.
No, he's not oblivious. He's just trying to
play it cool.
Yeah, he's trying to be. He's a good boy. He's a nice boy. He's trying
he
to.
doesn't
let
want to mortify her.
Yeah, he's trying to like play it off, and whatever they had going does seem like it's over. I guess
it immediately. Well, this is where it dies.
Yeah, for sure. And then she's gonna date the McGee and Me kid.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. A couple things. First of all, obviously we've talked about this. George, what the fuck, man? Like, surely
bad stuff, dude.
What are you doing? Secondly, he sounds like a really boring pastor. From these clips.
No, and they keep saying how he's such a good pastor that the teenagers are like, that was a good sermon.
Yeah, how about
a thing no child has ever said.
Yeah. I'm raising my hands. I'm raising my hand over here.
Even teenage Josh?
Like the extent of loserdom that I have learned about you from A Christmas Story and now
dude.
this.
No, I was a fucking dweeb.
I was a dweeb, but at least I was a bad child too.
Point of order. Like, was this you as a child or as a teenager?
Probably not so much as a teenager.
Yeah,
this
I
is
remember
more like
having your rebellious streak.
Of course, when I became a teenager, but like right before
Josh became an atheist at the age of 13.
That's
what the musical 13 is about.
Yeah, that's right. Which, that was also how I met Ariana Grande, but that's neither here nor there. That's a deep cut.
Yeah, Ariana Grande was in 13.
The Jason Robert Brown musical 13.
Back then, she was Ariana Tall.
That's true.
By the end of her life, she'll be Ariana Vente.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she will.
So, yes.
You'll get that joke, Ethan Slater.
I did... as a kid, back when I had my fucking radio that could listen to two stations, either the fucking, children's radio, his kids' radio, which apparently...
I remember you talking about this,
Yeah. Also, apparently, this radio is an asset in Half-Life 2.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, one of our listeners, I cannot remember who at this exact moment, told us about this radio appearing in Half-Life 2 for some reason.
So, not to get too discursive here, but like there was this little plastic radio that you could buy, right? Or maybe it was like a lease,
like a subscription,
annual lease, maybe
like an easy bake radio.
Yeah, exactly. And it would get two stations. One was on the FM band, and then the other was on a special band that only this radio could get, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
weird.
This radio station,
all these kids kept getting cancer.
was pretty much like all Adventures in Odyssey all the time, and also sermons. And I was the sicko fucking kid who like had favorite pastors at the age of 11.
Oh, wow. So they were all radio pastors. They were not the pastor at your church, though.
No.
See, that makes sense because megachurch pastors have a little bit of glitz to them, right? They have a sense of showbiz. They got that. But you were not walking out of your church growing up thinking that was a good sermon.
No, because...
Okay, so I rescind what I said partially. You were not that much of a loser.
I think it makes it worse.
But you're still kind of a loser.
I think it makes it worse. I think that like being the kind of kid who's like, all right, it's time for my, sitting like fucking Ralphie from A Christmas Story at the radio.
Time for my stories.
Rather than Little Orphan Annie, though, it's fucking, not Rick Warren. Who's the other guy? Anyway.
Rick Stanley?
I don't know. One of those fucking
Oral
guys.
Roberts?
No.
Billy Graham?
No.
Franklin Graham?
No.
Richard Roberts?
No.
Jerry Falwell?
No.
Pat Robertson?
No.
Jerry Falwell Jr.?
Yes.
Jerry Falwell again?
Yes, and then the best part with Jerry Falwell Jr. was when I had sex with his wife. That was
no.
Someone was just like, you want to tell me how? You want to give me some notes?
She's so hot, dude. Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wife is so fucking hot.
No, so would you fuck both of them, or would you let him watch?
He doesn't. That's the thing. It's not,
but would you let him watch?
I'd let him watch.
Okay.
I wouldn't fuck him, but that's not what he's into.
Yeah, but you'd let him sit in the chair and
he'd sit in the
Before would you say take notes, kid, and like flip him a dime dime or something, and he'd say, "Gee, thanks, mister." I've never heard Jerry Falwell speak.
Is it flipping a dime when you like turn his wife over?
I mean, with her, you're goddamn right.
Hey. What,
Going from heads to tails.
Peter Popov?
No.
Were you listening? Okay. Jim Baker.
No.
Tammy Faye.
No.
The Crouches.
No.
This sounds like a patter portion of a musical number.
These are all real.
No, I know, but it's just like this is the list part of the song.
Who have I missed? Who have I missed? Max Lucado?
Also, no.
Did you say Peter Popoff?
Yes.
His name is Peter Popoff.
Picked a peck of pickled peppers.
He was one of the really egregious like fake faith healer guys. Ooh, Benny Hinn. That's another one. Anyway, Peter Popov was actually fully exposed by a Canadian American magician James Randi. Because Popov used to do a sort of cold read type thing where he'd say, "Oh, I know what's troubling you. You have an ulcer. I'm going to heal your ulcer." People would be like, "How do you do it?"
Right.
Because people would walk into the church and fill out little prayer forms and put them in a little fishbowl. And Popov, this is insane. Popov actually had a room full of people who were reading out the cards and pointing to the people in their seats over a radio frequency that Popov would pick up in his ear.
Oh,
and Randy was able to completely dismantle all of this by picking up on the radio frequency, and he broadcast a whole like TV special about it.
See, what's really interesting about that is that that's actually lazy mentalism.
Yes.
There is a technique that a lot of mentalists use that I will not reveal on this podcast because I fear magicians. But it actually does require basically learning an entirely different language in order to like perfect. I mean,
well, that was in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
That was the technique that he used because he goes to every single seat and he tells somebody what they remember.
That was actually also just kind of his memory. Okay. Like he basically just memorized everybody's thing. And that is a skill. That is a very
incredible skill. Well, he did have an earpiece. It was a prosthetic. Anyway. So anyway,
this is great. Unedited,
Here's the thing. If we go any deeper, Neil Patrick Harris will break into this room and beat us to death with a brick.
No, he won't, because I mentioned the Frontier restaurant to him one time when he came to my escape room.
Now you've got diplomatic immunity.
You just see him like listening to the podcast going, "This one time, Alfred."
When Neil came back to the show right before we closed, he gave everyone a handshake. Except for me, he gave me a hug and he just said, "Albuquerque."
That's nice.
Yay,
that's
New Mexico.
Nice. So no, he can't never listen to our episode on How I Met Your Mother.
No, please don't.
By the way, Greg Laurie was the one.
Greg Laurie.
Just looked it up. Yeah.
Oh, you
Peter's
loser.
son?
Yeah. You fucking loser.
Peter's son became an evangelical?
What?
Huh?
Peter Laurie? Who am I thinking of?
Okay, sure. Yeah,
okay.
No, sure.
Yes.
Great.
I was just hearing it as Peterson.
Like Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson. We're on different wavelengths.
We're doing great. So let's go ahead and
woke evangelical pastors.
Pull it back in now to the episode, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point now, again, Jimmy has given his Sunday school lesson. It has not gone over well.
Yeah.
George has given his sermon. It has not gone over well with Donna.
Yeah.
So both of the kids are really fucking bummed out, right?
Yeah. So Mary has to have a talk with Donna, which I did not clip, but basically just boils down to, well, your dad just tells stories about you because he loves you so much. Which is not, sorry.
No,
he hurt her feelings.
No.
He has to get over his shit. Yeah. And
intention,
he does.
impact, those are two different things. We know this.
And Jimmy has a conversation with George that I think is interesting, and we'll talk about it right after I play the clip.
I mean, everybody in the church wants me to follow in your footsteps.
Where did you get that idea?
That's what she said. But it's true, isn't it? There's a lot of people who expect me to do that.
Nobody said anything to me about it. But that's not the point, Jimmy. If you're called by God, then he's the one you should respond to, not Miss Jeffries or anyone else. I mean, by all means, get counsel and advice, but don't confuse God's call with people's expectations. You understand?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So I think it's interesting to put this scene into the mouth of the voice actor Dave Griffin, who plays Jimmy Barkley. They did end up keeping him on for a couple years after his voice changed.
Right.
In his time at Adventures in Odyssey, I think he did a fifth of the episodes. Like if you just like hash that out, he was in so much of this show, and the moment that his voice changed, it was like a pall had been cast over the entire room. The first time they heard his voice kind of crack in reading a line. And
he talks about that, right?
Yeah, he's talked about that on his interview with Growing Up Christian. He has his own blog where he's gone into even more detail about this stuff, where the episode where Jimmy is going through puberty and his voice is changing and he doesn't know all of his feelings, and then Whit talks to him at the treehouse.
Right.
That was going to be his last episode.
Yeah.
But then they kept him on. And then Aloha Oi was going to be his last episode. Hal Smith had died. They were filling some space and like, okay, let's bring it back. Let's do. And then he keeps coming back, but it's never guaranteed that he's going to show up again. These are not union contracts where you have like, you know, you're a regular, you're doing this stuff, and he's not getting paid fucking anything. And he is about to actually be written off now. Like he's about to like not come back for a year and then not come back again.
He's about to be firmly shoved through the no-no door.
He is out of Odyssey. And here he is talking about the pressure, the expectations that he cannot meet, and how sometimes, you know, God just has another plan for you. And to have that coming from Chuck Bolte, who's an executive who's producing this show.
Yeah.
Feels bad.
No, that's really fucking gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is one of those things that like it was interesting that they did keep bringing him back, right? Like that strikes me as at the very least they didn't know how to break up with him, you know, like professionally, but like they just didn't want to hurt this kid's feelings because like maybe they had just grown close with him. But the thing is, and this just belies a lack of imagination on their parts, recast him as someone else. Like, don't make him Jimmy Barclay anymore. Just say there's a new guy who's moved to the town. That's his deep voice.
They did it with Donald Long a couple times. He played a couple of other roles when his voice changed, and they're like, we'll bring him back for Jack Davis. But Jack was never on as much as Jimmy or the Barclay family. But why can't you do the, I don't know, for better or for worse thing where you just follow this family as they get older and as kids, you know, Jimmy goes to community college and sticks around. You know, he's not here for the Regis Blackard saga. They're all gone.
Well, wait, do we know for sure that he actually wanted to keep voice acting? Like it wasn't a thing that I mean, that really fucking sucks.
Well, and it's particularly...
I mean, he's still a voice actor. He still works as a voice actor today. Yeah.
But it is particularly fucked too, to your point, Brian, that like, you know, Chuck Bolte, the executive producer, does the voice of one of these recurring characters where it's like, for a certain group of people, of course they can always find a place for you to fit.
Yeah.
But if you're not one of those people, then you're not. And this also gets to a thing of just, I guess, casting in general and what you want a show to be. Because, you know, if the show were to become about the Barclay family, centering around them and just watching them get older, it would just be Down Gilead Lane. I mean, it would probably be better than Down Gilead Lane, but like...
Or family portraits.
But, you know, I think at this point, too, there was a certain amount of indecision around what the direction of the show ought to be.
Yeah.
What with the fact that Hal Smith was dead, they weren't sure if Whit would be coming back or not because they hadn't found a replacement.
Yeah.
And so they just weren't sure what they wanted to do. It's one of those decision points where you need to make a choice. And it sounds like on some level, they were paralyzed and weren't actually willing to commit to any particular choice other than maintaining the status quo for a period of time in the hopes that they would figure it out eventually. And they kind of did.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's the other thing, too, is like, this reminds me most of what actually Marvel is going through right now with its fourth phase, because everything was very focused for phases 1 through 3, right? Leading up to Endgame, things seemed like pretty much in an order.
There's something really clear that you do, you build everything up, then you knock it all down, and then you resolve it.
Yes.
And then you do the thing that every comic book does where it's multiverses and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, where it's so scattered and fractured. And listening to all the episodes ever since Whit died, it feels that way.
Yeah.
It feels like this is a show that is completely unmoored. So I don't begrudge them for going back to Whit, but to a certain point, to me, it feels like going back to bringing like Iron Man back to life now.
Yeah.
You know, when everything's failing, or honestly, now that they're bringing the X-Men in, which is going to be Marvel's like big solve for their thing. And
They're pulling the X-Men into the MCU now?
Yeah, they are.
Boy.
Well, that's going to be their big thing. It's that and Fantastic Four because they
Them too?
Yeah. Well, they're banging.
No, there's never been a good Fantastic Four. There's never been a good one.
That's just too many guys.
Yeah, well, this one's going to be good though, Brian.
No, it's not.
This one's going to be good. And the thing is that like they were banking on Kang, right? They were banking on the Kang dynasty. And now, because of all these allegations, about a certain man who was playing Kang and who had it written to his contract that no one else in any other multiverse could ever be cast as Kang in the MCU. That perhaps person may be facing some horrible allegations.
Allegedly. That's a really solid contract to get. God damn.
Good agents.
Jesus.
Seems to have gotten good agents.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it's now to the point where like they have to do that. Like they have to now commit to this new thing. And it seems as though that is what Odyssey does by bringing Whit back. But I also, honestly, I think they're cowards. I think they should have killed Whit off and then made a new show.
They should have made something about death, and death is final. You can't go back.
Well, it's
over.
I mean, it's fucking Sesame Street, right?
Yeah.
It is the episode where they have to reckon with the loss of one of their own.
Yes.
Like that
and
is...
Sesame Street does it beautifully, and he never comes back.
No, there's not another guy wearing his face. Or, if you really want to, make him regenerate. Like, just go do what McCusker wanted to do and make this thing fully Doctor Who. Like, just have Whit, die and come back.
I'm in a Facebook Adventures in Odyssey fan group now.
Josh, why have you done this to
I don't
yourself?
know. And the worst thing about this group is that Phil Lawler is in it. And so people will post thoughts about it. Like, there was a thread that was like, post your favorite unpopular opinion about Adventures in Odyssey. And people were saying various things. One person said they should kill Whit, etc. And then,
especially if it's Andre Stoica playing.
And then Phil Lawler was like, what's the purpose of all of this? And just got like, I don't know why I made him be fucking the Joker.
I love this.
What's the purpose of criticizing Adventures in Odyssey? That wasn't quite it. But.
I wouldn't even know what to do if I got it.
I would simply not look at the page, Philip.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it, but it just belies such an insecurity on his
insecurity.
part.
He is a deeply insecure man.
I think that's why I want to roll that in, right? Is that the frustrating thing about this show for me, but the only frustrating thing about this show.
Otherwise, you've been pretty uncritical up to this point.
Absolutely. Up until this point, I've loved it. Is that there is this thing where there are times at which it seems like they do want to make a bold choice.
Yeah.
Right?
And maybe come real close.
Might be a writing choice, might be a casting choice, etc.
Yeah.
They get almost there and then they back off again.
Yeah.
Time and time and fucking time again. And I imagine, I of course grew up with this. Brian, you grew up with this. I imagine, AJ, for you, seeing this happen over and over and over again must be just fucking infuriating.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not really too uncommon. I mean, I've watched a lot of sitcoms, and that's sort of a huge thing that on there. Like the status quo must always be maintained. So it's not something that's completely foreign to me. But it is particularly frustrating because there are moments, as we've talked about, where the show, like a good version of the show,
it walks up to the
shines
edge
through,
and
then it runs cowering in the other direction. And I think a large part of that is that there just needs to be this amount of control over the property. Right? That Lawler and McCusker have this very singular vision for what the show should be, and it's a bad vision, Pam. Like it doesn't ever pan out. It never becomes the show that it could be. And look, I get that it can be frustrating to listen to us every single week be like, show bad, right? Because we know show bad.
I know.
But
I was talking with you about that in the car like a week or two ago. Like, are you sick of this shit yet?
No, but I'm not, because the reason we keep coming back to it is that there is this shining thing at the bottom of it that is interesting, that still that could be something good. And the frustration is how often they just run away from it screaming.
Yeah. And we couldn't get this by going through the Adventures in Odyssey cartoon. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
No, there's no quality. But here, there's always there is something earnest that's always present here.
Yeah.
At least when McCusker's writing.
Well, and speaking of earnestness, the way that
he saves Christmas.
The way that this episode wraps up is that George sort of comes to a realization that he has not been treating his kids in the way that they should, that the job is causing pressure on everyone in a way that he hasn't acknowledged. And so what he does is he sort of preaches a beta version of his sermon to the kids, to the whole family.
Version.
A beta cuck version. A beta soy cuck version of his sermon. And
because Lawrence is looking over the fence going, I'm coming for you, George.
That's right. The kids are on board.
Yeah.
And again, that's sort of what we were.
They have a genuine moment where it's very weird. Like it's almost like, how did they even get this approved to have George apologize to his children?
But again, to what I think you were saying earlier, AJ, maybe this is just inspired by something that happened for real.
Yeah, this is Marshall Younger apologizing to his girlfriend or something and his children.
The Marshall Youngerers.
Ooh.
Because they're even
anyway. Eventually it gets to the point where they can't be any younger.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The youngest.
Who is this? Sutton Foster? And so
I want him to name his child Mighty Joe.
So the way that this episode then wraps up is that there's been this running bit the whole time where an airplane flies low overhead.
Yeah, I did not clip any of that. It's just like
awful.
They just had this idea for a device, and so here Mary
they just bought a sound effect. Is what it sounds
Mary
like.
reveals the gender. She has discovered gender. She is becoming
a gender
woke.
reveal.
This was, of course, long before the invention of the gender reveal party, if you can believe it.
Mary loads up her shotgun.
Yeah.
She
shoots down the plane.
That's right. And
she starts a wildfire in San Diego.
But yeah, a plane flies overhead right
Yeah.
as she says the gender, and so no one knows. And Chris, least of all.
Holy cow,
Wow, Chris is flabbergasted.
Yeah, she comes in and she's like, what did she say? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait.
I imagine Chris like running into the booth and grabbing the engineer and shaking him, saying, what did she say?
Chris, like, I love these Chris outros sometimes because
she just goes for it,
she
baby.
goes for it. She's such a fucking pro.
Yeah, she teaches voice acting classes, by the way.
She does.
And apparently, is a real gem.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
She's an absolute sweetheart. Of course, voice of Barbie all the way until like 2003, I think was the last time she was a Barbie voice. But I was upset that she wasn't somehow in the Barbie movie. That's just my own personal thing.
Oh, maybe there was no cameo or anything?
No Chris Anthony Lansdowne cameo
It would have been
whatsoever.
fun just to even have a non-speaking cameo.
Right?
Just have her in there somewhere.
Right.
Oh, well.
So in this next episode, we are now at episode 294. Unto us a child is born.
Yes.
You see, because unto us a son is given.
Ooh.
And this is a bit of a gear shift. We are moving from a Marshall Younger episode to a Paul McCusker
We got
episode.
a McCusk.
Yeah,
And-
which means that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
pretty good. It's got its moments.
This actually originally aired on Christmas Eve, December 24 of 1994.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Were there people tuning in, do you think?
Yeah,
On the 24th?
absolutely.
Yeah, not me, but
They weren't
I'm
at
sure
mass
somebody.
or anything?
I would have been. I mean,
What?
Shut up.
What are they? A bunch of Arkansan scamps in the Great Depression?
I know this is unedited, but I really want some of those sound effects every time we mention those tramps.
Yeah.
but yeah,
I saw you go into your Proustian reverie, and I'm just like, God damn, we gotta go.
here we go. So this episode is really yet another attempt to bring the story of Christmas to life for all of those Adventures in Odyssey listeners who don't know what Christmas is or what it's for.
Yeah. And Paul McCusker is really interested in writing about the art of producing radio, and he hasn't quite nailed it down. But we saw him do like a Plato's Cave thing a little while back. And so I feel like this becomes even less about trying to reach someone with the Christmas story and trying to instruct others on how to tell it.
Yeah, it's a little meta, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of...
Maybe you are Jimmy Barclay making your own radio drama at the local ice cream shop / radio studio
/ hell prison.
that opens straight out into the parking lot.
There is something a little bit Brechtian about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like,
it does feel like, look how hard I work.
Yeah. So this episode...
Also fucking actors, am I right?
Well, I mean, so this episode kicks off with some intentionally stilted acting of kids who are playing shepherds, right? At Christmas. This is the Luke accounting of the gospel. And we're actually not sure what's going on here. It seems to be some sort of a pageant. All we know is that people are saying the lines from the Bible.
Until you hear Jimmy's voice, it sounds almost like he has raided the archives, and this is something from the 70s, because you even get like a little like tape dust or record scratch sound.
Which is, again, like we're at the point in the show where the sound editing is getting so good.
Yeah,
they're
it's
doing
very crisp.
remarkable stuff with the editing, the Foley, and everything else, the whole package.
Yeah, there's like a scene where we hear Eugene and Katrina through the little God mic booth, and then it immediately cuts inside the booth with them, and it just feels good. It's just a good
You know
feeling.
where you are without any dialogue.
It's a really great snap. I also really love Jimmy's performance in this opening bit where he's acting poorly, which is a very difficult thing to convey over just audio.
Well,
right?
and not only, so he's playing like the angel, right? Unto you a child is born or whatever.
Yeah.
He is not just acting poorly, though. He's acting poorly, but not as poorly as the other guys who he roped into doing this little radio pilot with him.
Right.
And so we learn that
I didn't clip it because I didn't think it was funny enough.
It's
but
not.
Yeah.
It's not. But what we do learn is that Jimmy is presenting this pilot, basically, and it's not a full pilot. It's just like a minute or two, to Jack and Jason. This, of course, is Jack Allen, who is our stand-in for one half of Whit, the grandfatherly, loving half of our great patriarch. And then Jason, of course, being the half of him that represents the more impulsive, also the force of the United States government and the intelligence community.
They're very cold. To this.
Yeah,
they
don't like
think it sucks.
They think it's really quite bad, which is probably McCusker talking about other radio, like in the same way that Shakespeare would like make fun of other playwrights that he thought were hacks.
Yeah.
This feels like McCusker being like, we're not like those other Christian radio drama shows. We're good.
We're
actually.
not like a certain judge in Grand Rapids.
They say something like, well, what does this have to do with us?
Like, what do you think it has to do with it? He's used your radio station before. He had his own talk show.
And Jimmy's idea here is that he wants to do a live Christmas Eve radio drama, basically a live pageant over the airwaves. Jack and Jason are quite skeptical.
Yeah, it's weird. This is kind of, I think it's strange characterization for both of them.
Yeah,
it would make sense if one was like, I'm a little too busy, and then the other, like maybe Jason is like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Right.
Let's go for it.
That would make more sense because it is weird when the two of them are aligned because it's like they should be in opposition.
That's the whole point of the device, right?
That is the whole point of splitting them in twain.
I think what they were trying to do in directing this episode was using it as a humorous counterpoint. It's just supposed to be funny that they're skeptical of this because what we heard was just bad.
Right.
But it's like, this is something made by a child.
Yeah.
And it's also Adventures in Odyssey. It's often bad.
Yeah, I mean, even if there was just like one extra thing of motivation, right? That like maybe Jimmy had used the radio station like 2 weeks ago and it like made a complete mess of everything.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
like spilled soda on
Got
like
some
the
crumbs.
console or anything.
Yeah.
It's just
Patch
like
cables were out of place.
Yeah, and then and so it's
Now, Jimmy.
he didn't coil them right.
out of place.
He didn't coil them right. He just left them all over the floor. People tripping
He
up.
coiled them around his arm, motherfucker.
By the way, that's the only way I know how to do it. I've been told many ways on how not to do it. It's the only way I can. So I'm not allowed to touch any of the audio equipment. On this
no
podcast.
one is. It's my home, so it's my stuff.
That is true. But he only has a week to put this thing together. And I mean, a week to put together an entire audio thing. What is he, us? Hey. Oh, this is us.
This is NBC.
Yeah,
and
Tuesday
so,
nights.
A live
Sterling
radio production then is greenlit, right?
Yeah.
Jack and Jason are won over. And so Jimmy has to kick it into high gear. He has to find some actors. He ropes his family in.
Yep, he gets his whole. He negotiates a little deal with everybody. Yeah, it's a little bit of haggling.
He's not a great salesman, is what I will say.
But he does get them involved. Mary is, of course, quite pregnant.
Yes.
And
her
she
baby
must...
longs for the sky.
Huh?
So when the plane flies overhead in the previous episode, the baby kicks a lot.
Oh, sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually made sense.
Rare for me, I know.
That baby's going to be a veritable Fortnite. What's her name? Carol
Fort Day.
Fort Day. Carol.
No, Pearl Fartbur?
No, the lady who flew the plane.
Amelia Earhart?
Oh, yeah, Carol Fort.
Carol
Yeah.
Fortnite.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
yeah,
I see. Okay.
More than
got
one woman
bits,
has flown
folks.
a plane, AJ. There has been two. So,
The pilot was his mother.
I can't operate on this pilot. It's my mother. So,
Re-examine your biases, Brian.
yes, sons can be doctors. So this brings us now hurtling into the B plot, which is a very substantial B plot because this is one of the longest episodes of Adventures in Odyssey I think they've ever made. It's 27 minutes long, at least before they started streaming the show. And
streaming on Twitch.
We get an entrance from someone we haven't seen in a little while. A certain character,
who is it?
Voiced by a prolific voice actress Pamela Hayden. I wonder what's going to happen.
Who is it?
Who's it going to be?
Hi, Connie. Hi, Katrina. I'm sorry I'm late.
You did the reverse bait
The
and
rehearsal
switch.
for the Christmas radio show. Did Jimmy ask you to be in it? Well, I'm not actually in it, and Jimmy didn't ask me. I'm going to work as a technical assistant of sorts.
Well, with Eugene as technical director, I guess that makes perfect sense.
Yes, I suppose so. That is, he asked me, and I said yes.
I like that one.
Katrina, Connie, in the many weeks we've been studying our Bibles together, I've deeply appreciated your restraint in not asking me about my relationship with you.
She's on the ball. She's like, I don't want to talk about it.
No.
Meaning that you want my restraint to continue?
Precisely. Eugene and I are friends, and that's all there is to say about it.
Right.
Well, I should go on to rehearse, but I need you to pray for me, Connie, about this Christmas show.
Okay. How come?
Because it's my first Christmas as a Christian, and I'd like it to be special.
Yeah.
To be real. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone remembers.
Yeah, I felt the same way after I became a Christian. You know, maybe we can make this Christmas show
That seems to be
special
happening
for
to a
you.
lot of people in this town.
Interesting.
What?
It's just like, oh, yeah, you know, it was weird that I also recently became a Christian.
So just to frame this back up for folks who are on board recently, the characters who we were just listening to, the one with the higher voice, that is Connie Kendall. She is sort of the impulsive teenager
from California.
Yes, the big city of LA full of jazz.
Yes. And
tall buildings.
Whit forced her to become a Christian pretty fucking quickly.
Yeah.
And
within 50 episodes.
Very
quick. Basically in a year. Yeah.
And the other young woman who she's talking to is Katrina Shanks, who is played by Pamela Hayden.
Of The Simpsons.
And,
so that's Milhouse.
Yes. And
what? Oh shit!
Oh no!
Oh my god!
She's the voice of Oh my god! I thought she just did some side character. Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm putting the pieces together now.
And so Katrina is a more recent Christian. She's actually just been converted, hence what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And her main sort of role in the world of Odyssey is to be the primary love interest of Eugene Meltzner, who we're going to hear from in a little bit. And Eugene is the other guy who works at Whit's End with Connie.
And he is not a Christian.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Despite some pretty harrowing trauma that has happened to Eugene, he has not yet converted.
Yeah, sometimes trauma doesn't actually help you out at all.
Whit, of course, sent Eugene to hell in the imagination station quite memorably.
I'm sorry, Josh. Whit did not send Eugene to hell. Eugene just experienced what the afterlife would be.
Who are you, that weird person who was adding me on Tumblr?
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah, someone was like, no, he didn't actually go to hell. And it's like, yeah, we know what the imagination station is, but also he went to hell.
Right. There should not be a function where that's a possibility.
So really,
sorry, you accidentally hit the I'm gonna go to hell button now.
So here's what's interesting, right, is that we now have sort of these core characters, Connie and Katrina, both of whom were not Christians, but have since become Christians, leaving Eugene the lone holdout among this group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that Eugene ever found a group of non-Christians in Odyssey?
Not in Odyssey. He had his gay friends in fucking California or whatever, Colorado, on the road trip.
I just think it's interesting that he might actually be the one godless man in this town.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem to have any friends at the college either after what happened with Nicholas Adamsworth.
The orphan who he blackmailed or whatever.
The orphan saga.
I actually cut out that Nicholas Adamsworth does come back. There is an episode, And the Power. It's in that Lord's Prayer series where every episode is a line from Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Where Nicholas Adamsworth is somehow now being mainstreamed into going into regular kids' school. and he is fixing grades there, and then he gets kind of maybe killed by a computer that goes haywire. It is nuts.
Cyberpunk?
Yeah. I'm sorry I never got to this
Applesauce?
episode, AJ, but we just couldn't fit it in this year.
I mean,
That seems like some lore that I like.
yeah, so there goes
go
Dick
back
Beals'
and
character.
listen
yeah.
to the Cyberpunk episode of Adventures in Odyssey at some point.
It's probably not worth. It's like I'm describing this from memory, and then there's going to be 18 minutes of other stuff going on.
Right.
18 minutes of like Whit ordering extra inventory for Whit's End.
It often-
and they're all out of
It
strawberry.
often literally is that.
Yeah.
No, honest. Hey, focus on the
and
family.
I like
Here's the
Dick
thing.
Beals. I
Give
like
me
seeing him,
$20,000. All right, I'll write a couple episodes. Put me in, coach.
AJ's just gonna have a bunch of people saying, "Hey, I saw you at mass yesterday." That Eucharist sure was tasty.
It's gonna take place exclusively at Tom's Ranch. There's gonna be a lot of slow descriptions of horses.
So,
Why did I ever want to do this?
Yeah, Brian looks so defeated. Like he pushed the button, but he's like, I don't want
pushed the
to.
button, motherfucker.
You did it.
Yeah.
You pushed the go to hell button.
So yes, we now have Katrina back in town.
Yeah.
She is going to be working on the show as a technical assistant with Eugene as the technical production lead. And her big concern, because she's a Christian now, is what is the true meaning of Christmas, right? And this is going to carry us through much of the rest of this episode.
Yeah. So we find Eugene and Katrina now in the booth. Everyone's taken, Jimmy's taken 5 and everyone has abandoned him.
Yes.
This happens every time he takes a break.
Immediately.
No respect for him whatsoever by any of these people.
Yep.
No respect for art.
No.
But here are Eugene and Katrina talking about a little bit of their Christmas plans, etc.
Katrina, I'm most grateful for your assistance. I'm certain there is an infinite number of Christmas-related activities you would enjoy more than this.
Not at all. I've purchased all my Christmas presents, except for yours, and I'm honored to be involved in the...
Pardon, did you say except for yours?
Yes.
Meaning me?
Yes?
Katrina, you don't have to buy me a Christmas present.
Well, I know I don't have to, but I want to.
They are just friends.
They're
I have to
just
keep
two friends.
driving this home, sharing one wonderful, one short Christmas day.
Yes.
Oh my God, they were roommates.
They would not cohabitate.
They would
are
not.
of
No, of
different
course.
genders.
That is pre-marriage. That is not okay.
Their
Except maybe
parts would
Eugene-
lock
Here's the
together.
thing. There's like they would be okay for Eugene to live with a woman though, because
No, it
he's
wouldn't.
non-religious.
That wouldn't be okay.
No, that's not fine.
That's not okay.
That is an attack on the family structure.
Right, but he's
That is exactly what this organization is fighting.
AJ, what is your focus on?
Eugene getting laid, I guess.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
then you need to redefine and reshape your focus. You need to focus on the family.
Yeah.
I would
has to
argue
get
that
married.
Eugene getting laid would then potentially produce a family.
Well, if it's out of wedlock, then it's not a fucking family. Now
because
is
Eugene
No.
fucks raw.
That's. You know what? I think in that fan
Oh no,
fiction.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I have a histamine response to the latex.
I think in that fanfic that
I've made a pig's bladder actually that I've just tied on there with a little intestine.
Just like my old childhood friend, Bladder.
Oh yeah, him.
Oh, bladder.
Yeah. That was actually the name of my grandpa's childhood friend.
Was
I
it
stole
really?
that from
Really?
real life. His friends Booger,
Wow.
Bladder, and Hot Dog all went by those nicknames. Bladder was so named because he carried around a pig's bladder
That's
that he would
wonderful.
inflate and put like pebbles and frozen
That's
peas
so
into.
good.
But not his penis.
I can't say that for sure.
How the fuck? Okay.
How do you carry around a pig's bladder and not put your penis
how
into
would
it?
he
You know?
How would? Okay.
Yeah.
How could
This
Brian?
this was literally almost 100 years ago.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, he might have.
Yeah.
How would he
Which
know?
is why I said I don't know. You can't ask me. I don't have any answers for you.
You've lived so many past lives. I just assumed.
AJ,
This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's get back to talking about how hard Eugene fucks.
Yes, let's.
So,
well, that was the thing,
Yeah.
was that fan fiction that somebody wrote inspired by our podcast. I don't think he put one on.
No,
so I
that's
think
true.
you're right. I think he fucks raw.
I'm coming.
oh, Miss Kendall.
This really is a very special episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds.
This is the start of the coming season.
All right. This is the start of the orgasm.
Look, you put a throuple in a room, it's going to get horny.
So we keep working on this. We keep working on this radio drama.
Yeah.
We get some of the dialogue. Donna is the bitch daughter of the innkeeper.
Right.
Yeah, she asked for a rewrite.
Mary just keeps moaning in the background.
Moans are
I'm
very
gonna
funny.
say, like, between this
I didn't
and
clip it. Once again, I did not clip it.
Between this and the trilogy, this is like mostly like just people
Moaning.
coming in the background. What is this? Poor things?
I did like the recurring joke where everybody in the innkeeper's family refers to each other by their role.
Yes,
so
hello,
it's like,
wife.
Right.
hello
Yeah.
wife, hello husband, hello daughter.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
It's hello, Obama. So Jimmy once again takes 5.
Donna,
Yeah?
I think you played it a little too sweet. You want to back off a little?
But I'm supposed to be sweet, right?
Yeah, but that was too much.
Well, how can it be too much?
Well, it didn't sound...
If you two are going to talk about that, can I lay down for a minute?
Sure, Mom.
I better call the church.
I
Actually...
think I'll see if Jason needs any help up front.
Well,
Good idea, Connie. It's bound to be busy.
Sure, but...
Jack just doesn't want to be there.
No, he hates it.
I believe
yeah.
I'll get some last-minute shop errands run. Farewell.
Yeah, yes.
I have a couple of quick errands to take care of myself.
Yeah, good idea. No problem. Everyone just... go. I mean... It isn't like we're performing this thing live on the radio tomorrow night.
I've been there.
The sound design is so
great.
impressive in
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
sequence.
it is really lovely. And also, it just shows the importance of getting union contracts.
Yes.
Because when you get non-union contracts, you think you'll be able to exploit them for more money, in this case. But really, what it ends up being is like everyone has to work 9 or 10 jobs just to be able to afford to do this in the first place. And scheduling is going to be an absolute goddamn nightmare.
I agree.
Pay people what they're worth.
We need to unionize Wits End and Kids Radio. That's
Oh, absolutely. But then Whit would like hire like strike breakers, right?
Which
like he'd hire he knows the Pinkertons.
But by the way,
personally,
he probably was a Pinkerton.
Yeah.
By the way, according to Dave Griffin, when Will Ryan left Adventures in Odyssey, there was a large stretch of time during the entire Novacom saga that you've heard about, AJ.
Oh yeah.
Will Ryan is not there for any of it.
Oh, what?
And so they had to figure out a way to like write out Eugene for like years.
Is that why they fucking wrote Wooten in? Because they needed another wacky
I'm sure
guy?
that's part of it. Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
And the
AJ,
reason
you are going to hate Wooten. Hate him.
And so the reason that happened was because Will Ryan was like, no, we're getting this fucker on a union contract.
Sure.
He basically just did a one-man strike.
Holy shit.
Until finally they did, in fact, become a union house.
In order to get him back after
Novacom? Yeah, because they weren't going to be able to get him back. And so right after Novacom is Eugene returns, and then he gets married and all this stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
What was interesting going back to this
Adopts
episode
gluten.
as well is that there in the last few episodes we've been listening to, the last couple episodes of Wits Endless Summer have been Eugene-free episodes. And boy, you don't realize just how important he is until you hear him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even just that, like even a Harlow Doyle, like, even when Eugene's not in episodes that Harlow's in, it's like just having Will Ryan's presence, it raises all boats.
Yeah.
People give better voice acting performances when he's around.
I think
certainly do.
It's just that, he's the kind of guy who, as an actor, when you are acting opposite him, I imagine that as a performer, he was giving you gifts throughout. Like we talk about this in acting a lot, like generosity of performance, right? Am I doing this for me or for you or for both of us?
And
or for the Lord.
Or for the Lord. And the only way you actually get any good scenes in any sort of acting, I think, is when you are not trying to look good, you are trying to make your scene partner look as good as possible, because then they're going to shoot that right back to you.
Right.
And usually the best actors are the most, union-centric ones, I would say, because it is all about the camaraderie and about the project and not necessarily about any one ego, for example. Even though he led a one-man strike. God, every new fact I learn about Will Ryan, I just appreciate him more.
Yeah. Okay, so
we're back in the weeds.
Oh boy,
we're still stuck in this fucking radio drama.
Eugene and Katrina, they've gone shopping.
Yes,
and they're down. We're in downtown Odyssey,
pedestrian, walkable downtown.
For some reason, in my head, I am just picturing downtown Gallup, New Mexico. I don't know why, but there's snow here. There's also bell towers.
Yeah, that's where the sniper hides.
I'm just trying to imagine like an Adventures in Odyssey mass shooting episode.
Well,
that would be so fun.
I'm actually really surprised
But I
there
want
wasn't
it.
like a school shooting like special episode at any point.
I don't know.
in
It's just
Odyssey.
it's so delicate.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't think that's something they'd engage in.
Static Shock did one. I think Odyssey can have like the audacity to try.
Yeah, but I think with that one, you can't just look at like a show did it. It's like which shows did, you know, like what quantity of shows have done it.
A lot
And
of
I feel
WB
like
shows did,
for the
yeah.
most. Yeah, Buffy did one, sort of.
I think Everwood did one. Am I wrong?
But like
about
you
that?
also don't want to do one of those shows in case one makes the news right around the time that your episode's about to air, which did happen with Buffy.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's happening every week. So, you know.
There's never going to be a good one.
Glee's school shooting episode was just someone fired a gun nearby once, which is what happened when I was in high school.
I mean, all the previews for it were like, Kurt's definitely going to die. And you see him like crying in a stall. I was like, nah, he's fine. He's going to go to NYU.
Hooray. So
I like that you said that like the mayor in Tom Goes to the Mayor.
Actually, I think Rachel goes to NYU. I might be wrong. I think
My
Kurt just
door
ends
is
up in New
always
York.
open for NYU.
For some reason, the clip of Rachel from Glee saying "pleek, pleek, pleek" keeps showing up on my TikTok feed.
I don't know it. I don't know it. No, but you know we will
The
because
very overwhelmed Leah Michelle.
this is we will eventually have to talk about Glee on this podcast at some point.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I do want to pull it back to
Unfortunately.
Eugene and
Yes.
Katrina in the walkable downtown core.
Yeah, because I've got a scene here with Eugene and a certain character.
Oh my god!
Wait a minute.
Played by
Hold on.
actress Pamela Hayden. Let's see what
This is
happens.
fucking
Okay,
Alf
here we
quote.
go.
When will you be driving to your parents' house?
Christmas morning. I'll leave early enough so I'll be with my family when they have brunch. Are you still spending the day with Jason and Jack?
Ah, yes. 3 forlorn bachelors bereft of kith and kin on Christmas Day.
Aw, poor children. Oh, I love days like this. Cool and crisp with a hint of snow in the air. The hustle and bustle of the Christmas shoppers. There's so much joy in it, don't you think?
Oh, indeed.
Paul McCusker
it's
really
so
thinking that he's
appropriate
writing
there would be so
something
much
here. He's
warmth
like,
and
oh
fellowship
yeah,
centered around
hustle
the birth
and
of Christ.
bustle.
Of course, I didn't think so until now.
They rhyme.
I'm sorry, but did you say Eugene?
I believe was my response, yes.
Well, I thought so. I don't think I've ever heard a so fraught with meaning, but so totally lacking in commitment.
Well, that's my style.
Eugene, what does Christmas mean to you?
Christmas?
Yes, as in the time of year we are currently enjoying?
Yeah,
Oh, that
duh.
Christmas.
Yes, what does it mean to you? And please don't give me a verbose non-answer.
Very well. I suppose it means all of the things you've just mentioned. A sense of childlike joy, the warmth of fellowship, a time to be with close friends. That's what it means to me. A time to be with a close friend like you, Katrina.
Yeah.
So many moments where this episode is almost a musical.
Yeah, I know this would be the moment to break out in song for sure.
There goes the nerd with his computers like always. It's my Eugene Bell, I guess, parody. There's a bit
No,
where
I understood.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, no, there's a bit where like Will Ryan is selling the shit out of Eugene flirting, which is a thing that like we don't really get that color in Eugene too much.
No.
And it is very lovely. Like I actually think that there is chemistry between them in this, but it's not really in the
scene's
writing.
too long. The scene is too long.
It is
just
too
needs
long.
to be.
Although what I will say is that I enjoy sometimes when this show gives scenes room to breathe.
Sure.
This has maybe a little too much room.
Yeah.
But when you compare it with a lot of, especially some of the writing that Phil Lawler in particular does, where it's just like, bam, 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 bam. It's like, it's nice to have space and within that space leave room for characters to grow and to communicate and to really have a meaningful interaction.
I think the non-committal thing is a really good beat. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's genuinely lovely that this thing has an A, B, and kind of C plot and is actually able to interweave them without it being awful like normal. Like it seems pretty well balanced, and I was actually genuinely struck that we got a moment of this quiet in an episode that has very large plot things that end up happening by its end still have like time to like just have these character breathy moments.
I am curious because Brian, you said you picture downtown Odyssey as looking like downtown Gallup.
Yeah,
I think
it's very hilly.
I think I picture downtown Odyssey as looking like downtown Holland, Michigan, in no small part due to the fact that there is a Focus on the Family bookstore there.
They're walking by the Focus on the Family store.
How do you picture it, AJ?
Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls. Just like just like a gazebo, very small town, Connecticut kind of vibe. Even though this is in Ohio, I guess.
Yeah.
It just feels like I can see the snow. I can see the 9 bell towers all ringing at the same time.
You
in
can
the
see
background.
the 9 snipers at their perches.
Yeah.
They're all
for Christmas.
9 snipers sniping.
Yeah.
They're all just trying to snipe each other.
No, but for Christmas every year they get each other new scopes. But they have to sell their scopes in order to get them, and then they have to sell their stocks. It's
Gift of the Magi. Gift of the snipers.
Yeah, gift of the.
Oh, Henry.
Oh, Mary.
So, speaking of Mary, we find ourselves now that the live broadcast is happening, and Mary is playing Mary, and Mary's in labor, but oh no, it turns out Mary is also in labor.
Can't you see? My wife is about to give birth.
Oh, Joseph, help me! The pain!
Boy, she sounds convincing.
I'm sorry. You'll have to look elsewhere.
Sounds like she's
Now,
gonna
on
be
your
black
way.
out
I have
for
work
now.
to do. Come, my wife.
Yes, my husband.
No, the pain. It started.
Wait a minute. That's not in the script.
I think something's wrong.
Oh, please.
This shouldn't be taking this long to figure
George.
out.
No.
George! What am I to do? Where am I?
Her water broke. Maybe that'd be a good
I'm in
sign.
labor. We have to go to the hospital, please.
Good grief! Make way, everybody! Make way!
Like George doesn't even figure it out.
Good grief! It's happened twice before, George.
Fucking dumbass. Jesus.
They run to the hospital and they're like, "Oh no! How are we gonna finish the broadcast?" And we just get Eugene and Katrina. We get Eugene and we get a famous voice actor named Pamela Hayden, maybe a character that she was known to play as Mary and Joseph.
Right.
Let's see.
And so Mary gave birth to a child.
Thank you.
I got you again.
Just as the angel had prophesied.
AJ.
I never thought I'd long
Look
for
at that
Alf
beautiful
Hogs.
baby boy.
I see him, my darling.
Oh,
He
this is really
indeed
bad.
Beautiful.
AJ, your face.
Thank you for being so close by. I felt your prayers, your presence.
Blessed are you, my love.
Dropping presents.
Truly, you are the heart of my heart, the essence of all that I cherish with wonder and awe.
I'm really into this cup and ball now. Whoa!
There we go.
Wow! Man, you never know which way this crazy ball's gonna go.
Oh, my wife.
Oh, Joseph, my Joseph.
Like she did one really good line read in that scene.
That was weird.
God, very energetic.
There was comedy. There was like life in it. Wow.
How do you guys feel?
I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel like
Are you along for the ride?
It's incredible to me. I do wonder how The Simpsons would actually play as an audio drama. Like how much comedy would actually come across, even though you don't get all the signed bits or anything, or like any of like Homer's dumb faces. If you could still like just listen to it, and if it would still communicate as much comedy.
I would. I mean, there are definitely some jokes that would land, but I do think that with The Simpsons, it is a primarily visual gag format.
I don't know. I think the writing is so much of what the jokes are. Like a lot of the best jokes in my head are the ones that are like purely dialogue jokes.
Sure.
Well, there's stuff like even even jumping Springfield Gorge, right?
Yeah.
I think if you just
Why are we
listen-
talking about The Simpsons?
I don't. It just popped into my head for
Oh,
some
okay.
reason. Yeah. Probably because Pam, she played like a role on that.
Pamela
I
Hayden,
guess.
Pamela
Hayden,
She played a role on that somewhere. But that Springfield Gorge joke I think would really work with just audio, because you hear the siren go and then you hear the thing hit the tree, you hear the wheel, and you hear him fall back down. I think that'd work pretty good.
Yeah.
If The Simpsons had been made in the 30s, there definitely would have been a radio spin-off of The Simpsons.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah.
In the same way that like everything is comics now, you just have a radio adaptation of everything back then. So,
by the way, to answer your question from a moment earlier, Brian, about was I along for the ride?
Yeah.
I'm always along for the ride, baby.
Of course,
That's what
of
this
course.
show's all about.
Of course.
Yeah.
Were you expecting it?
Yes.
Here's what
that specific point. I feel like I had baited you correctly.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I will say that I think that I thought what was gonna happen is we were gonna come back from break. We were gonna be doing Back to Bethlehem, and you'd be like, and here is where Judah threatens the general, and then it
would be Millhouse. I did give that consideration, but I wanted it to be in the episode.
I was not expecting the placement right there. You did fake me out successfully.
Good.
Yeah. That was an old switch and bait.
Sometimes you have to. Sometimes the fish aren't attracted to the first kind of bait you put on the hook.
Right.
So you got to switch that bait.
Yeah. So Eugene and Katrina have shared their moment as Mary and Joseph.
Yes.
And something that is happening in this part is that the show is seamlessly cutting between the studio, the radio studio, and the hospital.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no like sound effect or anything to note that this is happening. This is something that McCusker has done a few times at this point. He assumes that his audience has the intelligence to keep up. And at this point, the sound design is precise enough that they can pull it off.
You can hear the hospital, you can hear the radio studio, you can hear the hospital, the radio studio.
Yeah. And you know that they're in two different places.
Yeah.
They established that. Yeah. So why do they need to keep telling you?
And so Mary Barclay gives birth.
Yep. For unto them a son is born.
But you should get some sleep now.
Yes, I am tired.
Yes, you sleep now. And dream of our little baby boy. The one we'll call Stuart Reed.
Stuart Reed.
Stuart Reed. Wait, hold on.
Stuart.
Wait, hold on.
Stuart Reed.
Wait, hold on. No, dude. Wait.
George.
Jimmy.
Donna.
Mary.
Anyway,
doesn't matter.
As we go forward, we have our last little moment here is actually back with Eugene and Katrina. Katrina's about to drive home to do her fancy brunch with her parents in the morning.
Yeah, Katrina and Eugene participate in the anti-capitalist ideal of gift exchange. Don't worry about why they're laughing at that, by the way. That's a deep cut, and that one's just for me.
This is a very deep cut of a very respected artist. So Eugene and Katrina are at the car, and they, it's just, it's so much tension because he knows he can't be with her if he's not a Christian, and she's friends with them, but they're gonna show each other's gifts.
Eugene?
Yes, Katrina?
Here's your Christmas present.
Oh.
I hope you like it.
If it's from you, I'm certain I shall. And this package, heretofore cleverly concealed under my coat, is your Christmas gift.
Oh, Eugene, you weren't supposed to do that. Although I'm glad you did.
Well, shall we open them now or wait until morning?
Now, I don't think I can wait.
Then open them we shall.
Eugene! A Bible!
Remarkable to think of the same gift.
Beautiful, Eugene.
As is this one, and you even had my name embossed at the bottom. It's very thoughtful of you.
Then you'll read it?
Well, of course I will. If only because it's a gift from you.
Oh, thank you, Eugene.
Be careful, some of my pages are
Why
stuck
the
together.
hug and the tears?
I don't know. I'm just a sloppy sentimental at heart.
Oh.
Merry Christmas, Eugene.
Season of Merry Christmas.
Mom! Bart's smoking!
You got me again.
Son of a bitch.
Both of those clips are from the same scene in Marge Be Not Proud.
Right,
one of the best Simpsons episodes.
That's your favorite one, right?
It's my favorite of the more serious ones. Yeah,
that's a good
my
fucking
favorite,
episode.
just fully ridiculous comedy ones is the PTA disbands. But yeah.
I would have thought it might be Streetcar Named Marge.
No, I
like
that
Streetcar
one's,
Named
I mean,
Marge.
it's great.
It's phenomenal.
But it's not the PTA disbands. Sure.
Yeah. One other thing, and it's not in that little clip, but I did just want to give a special shout out to Will Ryan for his delivery after Katrina has driven away.
Yeah.
That there is a moment Katrina's gotten into her car and she's left, and Eugene's like, wait, I have something to say. And he just kind of gets choked up and he says really quietly, I love you.
Yeah, that moment would have worked better for me if he hadn't just said it in the studio.
Yeah.
Because he says it as Joseph.
Right.
He says, I love you, Mary. And if they had just kept it that from happening then and just let those words come out in this final moment, I think it would have been much stronger.
Well, and I think my praise there is more for the performance than the writing.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm always amazed at how well Will Ryan can sell anything.
Yeah, 100%. And it's actually why I think a lot of the writing in Odyssey wasn't nearly as refined for him as it could have been, because he could just make it work. right? And if you have an actor that can do that, you know, why put it in? Speaking of putting it in, I think that this is a relationship that I am now rooting for in a way that I just wasn't really before, just because the performances are so good around it, but it's still like the Bible thing.
Well, here's the thing, AJ.
Giving each other Bibles. Eugene, I just don't know. I just don't think Eugene would do that.
You don't think that Eugene would give Katrina a Bible?
I don't. I don't. I think that he might give her something that is sort of like related to Christianity, but also still has a science bent. I feel like once he converts, that's
give her a copy of the Screw Tape letters.
Yeah, I mean, kind of
scientific creationism,
right? I mean, or something like. But it doesn't feel like pre-conversion. I just don't buy that Eugene would give her a Bible.
Well, also, I feel like she'd already have a Bible.
Yeah, like I mean, it's to be. I mean, I guess do people collect Bible? You two collected Bibles, right?
No, I mean, didn't collect Bibles, but I certainly have more than one.
I did not. Yeah, I mean, it's less that I was collecting Bibles and more that I would have various Bibles foisted upon me at different like ceremonies and shit.
My first Bible was an NIV Bible with some little illustrations in it.
Did you ever have
I got for Christmas? I got an Adventures in Odyssey Bible at some point when I was in elementary school. I got so the Baptists have their own translation called the Holman translation. I got a Holman Bible.
You got Living Bible.
Well, my parents have a Living Bible.
Yeah.
But I got a Holman Bible when I graduated. I have the HarperCollins Study Bible, which is the one I actually have here with me.
Did you ever get any of those like kids' Bibles where it's like a dumbed down translation?
Yes.
There's like the KNIV or something.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the KNIV. That would be funny if it was, but
they're very abridged. It's like a page to tell you a story or whatever. Yeah. Where it's like Jericho happened.
Yeah.
And that's why we have why we have Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I mean it's just I guess maybe had Katrina said earlier, like, oh, my Bible is falling apart. Like I've read through it so many times, like the pages are falling out. Like Eugene overheard it, then I'd be like, that's a very sweet gesture because he knows it's something that she loves and he wanted to get her a new one. But just of his own accord, it feels lazy. It feels like limiting Katrina down to like her just most basic character, which is that she is a Christian and not that she has other interests that they both fucking share.
Oh no, she doesn't have any interests anymore.
That's the thing. That's kind of where she is at this point, right? She and I will say that to an extent, this is real. Like if you are a newly converted person, the religion is oftentimes your whole personality.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, you could have gotten her a scope.
True.
You know, perhaps a gun of some other kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, while we're sniping, we're going to take a moment to snipe our neighbors from across the other bell tower. Because we, of course, record this from a bell tower.
On a boat.
In the middle of the river. In the middle of the Hudson River.
And when we come back, we will see, some more Eugene. And Connie in the Imagination Station because, baby, we're going back to Bethlehem.
Ooh.
Come on, it's gotta be here. Wait, yes.
On the third day,
there it is.
A voice came from the deep. It spoke of a book, the great tome that would burn away the flesh of man. And when we asked what tome this was, the voice answered back,
"Come back later!"
Oh, sorry to disturb.
No, sorry, my fault.
Only the sign did say you were open.
Just a bit jumpy tonight, I guess.
And it is a frightfully cold night out there.
No, of course. Welcome to Lorne Lagorium's Pop Organ Emporium. I'm Lorne Lagorium, owner and proprietor of Lorne Lagorium's Pop Organ Emporium. Please let me know if I can help you find anything.
Mighty kind of you, thanks. Heard tell you were having a Christmas sale, that true?
Huh? Oh, yeah, 70% off all reed organs.
70%? That's a mighty big discount, friend. Business that bad?
Not many people in the market for an organ these days.
Shame. They are beautiful instruments. Particular, but beautiful. Well, I'll be.
Ah, yes. Old Woody. You've got a good eye. Don't really see many wooden organs around anymore. That thing's an antique.
I'll say. They really don't make them like they used to. May I?
Oh, well, we usually don't let customers play the older models.
I'll be gentle. I promise.
All right, but don't tell the guy who owns the place. He could be a real stickler.
Your secret's safe with me. It's the darndest thing. When I was growing up, my church had an organ almost exactly like this one.
Oh, yeah?
Even has the same smell. That polish. The kind that gets in your nose and sticks there. Every Sunday, I'd go to church with my mother, and I'd sit in the pews, and I'd listen to Rebecca Begbie bang away on the keys and clang out, "Be thou my vision," and see how Eden's children fell. Always off-tempo, almost unrecognizable, the way she would mash notes together like a thoughtless child. See, even then I knew an affront to God when I saw one, and I knew that every Sunday when Rebecca Begbie would sit in front of the congregation and slam the pedals with her enormous boots, I knew that God was angry. I could feel it in my bones, this pulsating hate so strong that I knew the only thing it could be was God. So I did what he asked of me, and the very next Sunday I snuck into the church and hammered nails into the pedals of the organ, so that when Rebecca Begbie took to her chair to make a mockery of my God and carelessly slammed her foot down into the pedals, the nails were there to greet her. The noise she made, the agony of it, I knew it reached my God, and I knew that he was pleased.
Who are you?
My name is John. Or I suppose more specifically, John 3:18, the 318th to wear this face. Shame about 317, he did have such a wonderful voice. But these bodies age so quickly. What are you going to do?
That's impossible. Whitaker's gone, off on some pilgrimage,
You know your Bible, Mr. Lagorium? People love to think their God is a loving one. John made sure of that. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. You know the rest. And yet, not 2 lines later, John says, "Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already." And that, Mr. Lagorium, that is my God, and he's bade me come and give you a warning.
A warning?
If you do what we think you are planning to do, you and your adorable little social club, then the next time you see me, it will not be a cordial visit. On the contrary, I will track you down, and one by one, rip the bones from your body. I will find every person you've ever loved and grind them into dust. I will make you a non-entity and erase you entirely from this earth. Is that understood?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we understand each other just fine.
Splendid. Well, better be getting back home. This body has some aging to do, or people might start catching on. Oh, and, Merry Christmas, Lorne Lagorium. May God bless you and keep you close. Where are we?
Lorne. Petey Ponderoga, do not sneak up on me like that.
Sorry. He gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
Thought he'd never leave. Sanctimonious little shit, isn't he? What do you want to do? Do we call it off?
No. We stick to the plan. Delay it a bit, make him think he's got us beat. And then? Then, my love, we do what we were born to do. We blow that motherfucker up.
Oh, hey, sorry about that. That was some really weird radio static there.
Lots of static.
Yeah, seems fine. I think it seems fine. So yeah, originally, I'm sorry that there really was no interstitial this week. And the reason
just
for
8 minutes of static. It's just
8 minutes. Wow, you are.
Well, it looked like less. It looked like less when you fell through the big array. It only looked like about a second, but it was 8 minutes of static.
I like to imagine this mist-like opening you have in mind, where I've fallen through a book.
First of all, I
fallen through a
want to be
fissure.
very clear on this, because everyone in the audience is yelling at you right now. It's contact. It's not 8 minutes in contact, but I'm making a contact reference where I am James Woods.
Oh, yes.
I'm making a missed reference.
Apologies.
Oh, okay.
I realized the moment I fell into the fissure that the book would not be destroyed as I had planned.
Alan Wake, Red Mist?
It continued falling into that starry expanse of which I had only a fleeting glimpse.
My name is Alan Wake.
I have
I'm a
tried
writer.
to speculate
Stephen
where it
King
might have
said,
landed.
"Don't play Uru." I don't know. Maybe Stephen King is like the biggest fan of Uru.
He's a
like
big
the
science.
one.
He's just
one
like,
guy. But as I was saying, the reason why there was no interstitial this week was because Odyssey scooped me. Because this first episode,
That's a different podcast. The Odyssey Scoopcast.
Are you know that, right? There's a podcast called The Odyssey Scoopcast.
Oh, you make me
I
want
like the way you say it with your Midwestern tones. Scoopcast. There's a Scoopcast over there.
Oh, yeah, fucking Minnesota.
Yes, you are. Yes,
Where
you
are you?
Oh.
You got some work to do now.
You're from Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the Twin Cities there.
Oh,
yeah.
The Minnesota. I remember. I have this sudden memory that's just hitting me like a fucking freight train.
Yeah. Rock you like a
I was
hurricane.
driving with my family through Minnesota.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, channel surfing through the radio as one does.
Sure.
And we just came across this talk show, and I think it was on AM radio. And it was just these fucking ladies. It was just, and we love.
Hold on.
Just these two Lutheran
I think
women
three.
with these Norwegian inflected accents.
And it was and it was this one lady being like, "Oh, I just love that song, Girls Don't Cry, Big Girls Don't Cry by Fergie. I just love to listen to it because it really is what you need when you're feeling that you've got those meanies in your life." And the other lady's being like, "Oh yeah, Fergie's so good."
See, what I do when I need a song to deal with the meanies is I listen
Yeah.
to Yellow Submarine.
Oh yeah.
Why? Because of the blue meanies.
Ballroom.
I taught AJ about a Swiss clown, a very famous guy from the 50s. He was a clown.
This guy talked to Hillary Clinton at one point, I think.
Yeah. His whole bit is that he's fully dressed up as a clown. He's a total white face, little pointed hat. But he doesn't really do clown stuff. He's just really condescending. And so he sort of asks you, "Oh, you were driving through Minnesota. Oh, you were Warum?" That's how, which is why in German.
Okay.
Warum? Why? With like a falling cadence.
And I delivered it like Jiminy Glick.
Yeah.
Who is our Swiss
Jiminy Glick? Yeah.
Well, what is Jiminy Glick but Swiss clowns persevering? So
we've got a trilogy to talk about. This
the
one's
reason
really
why
thin.
I didn't do an interstitial this week was because Odyssey scooped me and
With the cast,
decided to open this beginning of this trilogy, this Back to Bethlehem trilogy, by opening up with a little skit between Chris and A1 Dr. Julius Schnitzelbonker.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
not
this-
Julius Streicher. Let's be very clear.
This is Back to Bethlehem parts 1, 2, and 3. Yes,
And
we'll be recapping
3.
all of them. These were all released in subsequent
boy.
weeks of December of 1990.
Part 3 is a Western.
So this is late for the Chris skits. This is episode 135, and we get a Chris skit. And it is the most insane one she has done.
Just roll it.
Folks.
Where have you been all
Our
my
theme
life?
sounded different.
Right. It was Christmatized by the instant Christomatic. Simply push that button, and whatever you're pointing it at will be transformed into something that's full of the Christmas spirit. Very timely, I thought to myself.
This accent?
Technology is a wonderful thing.
But, Doc, the Christmas spirit isn't something you can manufacture by a machine.
Oh, yes, Smarty Pants? Well, tell that to all the people who make video games, huh?
No, see, the Christmas spirit is something you have on the inside. It's more than just video games or anything you can put under a tree.
Yeah, so you say so, but I expect to make a small fortune from this little gizmo.
Sorry, Doc, but that's not what Christmas is all about.
Oh, so you think you can do something about it?
Yeah, I think so.
Wait, what are you doing? Wait, don't touch that button!
I hated to do that.
What happened? What's going on? What have you done to me?
Maybe you'll feel different as a Christmas tree ornament, Doctor.
Oh.
Hey, quit kidding around. Change me back. Come on, change me back.
An invention can't make the Christmas spirit, but it can certainly set us in the right direction, as Connie and Eugene will find out when we begin today's adventure.
This is so fucking weird. He changed his accent.
This is a sex thing. This can't not be a sex thing.
He's been force femmed and turned into a tiny little guy.
Yeah. He's about to be
well,
bored.
we don't know that he's force femmed yet, but we
True,
do
good
find
point,
out
good
in the
point.
next clip.
Yeah.
You know, you look kind of cute as a Tinkerbell doctor.
Yeah, the tutu's a little short.
What?
He's turned into a guy from Brooklyn from being like a 1910s crowd.
It's
You got a short tutu over here.
well, in case anyone was wondering, we did tell all the people we know who make video games.
Yeah, all two of them.
All two of them that that is not, you cannot you cannot manufacture the Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
No, you certainly cannot.
I sent that message along to Josh Sawyer as well as Scott Benson. I have yet to concretely hear back from either of them.
Wait, you just
well, they're busy manufacturing the Christmas spirit.
Hold on. You just wrote down that line and messaged them with "You cannot manufacture the Christmas spirit." No preamble.
No.
Nothing.
I said an episode of Adventures in Odyssey that we're listening to this week includes a character inventing an instant Christmas machine. When this character is told that the Christmas spirit is not something you can manufacture via machine, he says, "Tell that to all the people who make video games."
So that's what I'm doing right now.
So I am sending you this message to let you know that the Christmas spirit is not something you can manufacture via machine. Feel free to let me know if you have any thoughts on this matter. I'm just passing the message along.
I just realized I do have to tell one more person that the Christmas spirit cannot be manufactured.
Warum?
They have to know.
That's true. I mean, someone had to make Elf Bowling 1 and 2. Someone had to make a sequel to Elf Bowling.
What is this referencing though? This line, like, what are they fucking talking about?
Video games.
Yeah, and how like everyone wants to buy video games at Christmas, I guess, and that like getting a video game is like this is probably this was probably Super Nintendo time.
This is where you can
right?
learn how to putt. You can get that putting challenge game.
I guess you're right,
You're gonna
AJ.
steal it from the store, and your mom's gonna be very disappointed in you.
Well, it wouldn't be the Super Nintendo yet.
Just
I mean,
NES?
Well, yeah, because the
1990?
This is 1990, so at this
Sega
point,
Genesis?
You got the
no, not yet.
Not yet.
It's still just Master System.
This would still be so. It was released in Japan in 1990, but it wouldn't make its way stateside until 1991.
Wow. We had to wait that long for it to do what Nintendo don't?
Well, Nintendo did. It just took them a year.
One Nintendo did. Not one Nintendo don't.
Folks, as you can tell, we're out of steam because this is just
there's
wretched.
Here's
We're doing
the
a Bible story.
Here's the thing about this intro too is that it is just so out of place. I have never heard anything on Odyssey.
So weird.
Well,
that
and
is
especially
like
because this is a wraparound. It comes back at the end when it's the end of part 1 of 3.
But then it doesn't come back in parts 2 or 3.
No, it's just for part 1. And part 1 ends with a guy getting a knife held to his throat. And Chris is like, oh, that's fucked. Anyway... Anyway, here's my good friend Julius Streicher, editor of Der Stürmer, once more.
Desperately wish that Chris would record an outro at some point where she goes, "Whoa, that's fucked."
Honestly, Cameo, can we do it? Can we do it?
I don't think she'd do that.
No, I absolutely don't think. But I do think that it is a little bit unfortunate that she did poach me for the tiniest Bavarian boy. So we can never actually do that.
Well, the tiniest Bavarian femboy.
Yeah.
Tinkerbell does not
schlafen.
Tinkerbell also really should be pointed out. She does not wear a tutu. That is a flapper dress.
Yeah.
It doesn't
not a
stick
tutu
out at all. No, it's there to emphasize her ass. That was Walt Disney trying to get the adults into the theater, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
He wants you to fuck that fairy.
Well, and I do.
There we go.
You heard it here first, folks.
So, let's get into this episode of Adventures in Odyssey, shall we?
Must we?
And Josh like Eugene.
After
pig's bladder,
Chris force femmes and shrinks the good doctor, which seemed to me unnecessary.
He's a bad doctor.
We are back.
He's a surgeon.
He has been so naughty.
The one and only John Avery Whitaker.
That's right. He's back.
He's back because we've gone back in time.
It's a Whit's endless summer, you know? It just never ends.
I'm trying so hard. I don't expect us to ever hear from Hal Smith again. Unless we do the episode Karen.
But he's right here.
So Whit is designing a display for the Bible room. Now, again, just a piece of context here for those of you who have not been following along for 33 episodes.
Or for those of you who haven't been taking notes.
John Avery Whitaker, the patriarch and owner of Whit's End. This is a soda shop / children's imagination emporium that teaches children about the Bible. And one of the ways that it does that is through a room called the Bible Room, which contains various immersive exhibits and other fun things.
And a time machine.
And a time machine.
/ holodeck.
Which is, of course, what we listened to in Unto Us a Child is... Or no, not Unto Us a Child is Born. We are going to be listening to this here in the Bible Room where the imagination station is.
Yes. So this starts bafflingly.
Yes.
Eugene and Connie are dressed up as Bible characters because Whit needs to photograph them as Bible characters.
So that they can be turned into wax models? Like, these are reference photos for wax models?
Oh, is that what? I wasn't paying attention.
There was a line where he's like, we're going to... I don't know why this hit my ear, but it did because it was so fucking weird.
Yeah.
He's making like a Madame Tussauds type, like, nativity using wax sculptures?
Yes, correct.
Well,
yes.
he should have been getting started on that months ago,
I would say.
Goodness gracious.
No, he knows a guy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's Vincent Price in House of Wax. So they get to bickering. These two, they're hanging out, and of course, as always, it is the arguing season. And Eugene decides he's going to taunt Connie because he, as a non-believer,
right,
has a better knowledge of the history of the Nativity.
More like the
But I'm playing Mary, and Mary was special, Eugene. She wasn't like all the other women.
Really? I suppose you think she had a halo around her head, as she has in the paintings.
Well, she might have.
And she gave birth to Jesus in a beautiful manger without the pain of labor, among clean animals. And the babe in swaddling cloths never cried, as in the Christmas songs.
Well, why not?
Oh, Miss Kendall.
But, I mean, yes, he did. Like, I don't know.
No, he's correct.
Yeah,
Eugene is correct here. That it's not also clean and easy. Being born in a stable is pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah. It is interesting that he is being like portrayed as like the smug know-it-all asshole that will get his comeuppance. But like, no, he's right.
Well,
he's just right.
Here's what I will say. Honestly,
he's being a jerk, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Connie and Eugene bickering with each other while Whit does his best to rein the two of them in. This first scene, I was listening to this and I was like, wait, is this Stockholm Syndrome or have I actually missed this? I think I've missed this.
Oh, you've missed the arguing season.
I've missed the arguing season and I've missed the specificity of this triangle, which was the core of the show up until Whit fucking died.
Yeah, I did miss Connie because honestly, we haven't really gotten a lot of her in a lot of the episodes that we've been listening to.
I haven't gotten a lot of Eugene either.
Yeah, neither of them. So yeah, no, I enjoy them interacting with each other, but I still think it's incredibly creepy that all this is happening while their employer and I guess friend is photographing them in costumes.
Yes.
Like I could not get over how uncomfortably awful this scene is.
It's like, Connie, you want to like lift that strap to the side just a little bit?
And especially with what Whit does once they get into the imagination station with Connie.
And before that, even though, like, Whit is just kind of letting this happen. He's usually a little bit more on the ball and like, stop fucking fighting with each other. This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season. But here he's just like, yeah, Eugene's right. Click. Hold fucking still.
Girls on film. And so
that's a cheap camera too. You can hear that click. He's using some just absolute piece of garbage here to take these photos.
So, and Eugene just decides to be a super misogynist for a little bit.
Well, he's defending
a punk ass bitch.
He's defending the patriarchy, right?
He is, yeah. All of this is being done in service of the patriarchy. Yeah. So Whit is like, yeah, we're gonna solve this. We're gonna show you how Eugene is right, but he's subtly gonna ruin Eugene. He's gonna get under his skin
as per usual
because we've got a journey. We've got a journey of wonder and excitement and perhaps
discovery.
Maybe. Because he's gonna stuff these two crazy kids into the imagination station and send them back to Jerusalem. Bible Jerusalem, but not there. It's Bethlehem, actually. I don't know why I said Jerusalem. So the episode title is Back to Bethlehem. God damn it.
Well, I mean, really what we're doing here is the prequel to The Star, which is an episode we already have covered. Yeah. This is the prequel to that.
Well, and what was interesting, too, about listening to this episode is that The Star actually just recycles some of the beats from this episode at the beginning.
There's a Roman centurion.
Focused, though.
There's a Roman centurion, but it's a different one. There's a guy who has received the prophecies, but it's a different guy.
Right.
Very weird.
But you know, it wouldn't be December of 1990 without an unnecessary 3-parter, you know?
Yeah, and it's also, this is, you know, Brian made this point, I believe maybe off mic or maybe
who knows?
Who knows at this point? But
reality and the performance, it all begins to blur, you know?
The persona.
Yeah.
But like McCusker did get better over time. By the time we reached The Star, which I believe is also a McCusker episode, it is more focused. It is more streamlined. It feels better than this 3-parter.
Yes.
Because really what this 3-parter is that Paul McCusker read a book and he wants to tell you all the information he knows about the history surrounding Jesus's birth.
He read like Walt Wangeren's Book of God or something and was like, oh, I can do this novelistically too.
He is ironically making the exact same mistake that Jimmy made in his episode, trying to pack in all this context about the history of the Roman Empire.
Yeah. Except Jimmy wasn't making a mistake. These kids need to learn about the Roman Empire, and they're all bored by it. You're bored by the Roman Empire? Come on.
Well, what was really weird about one thing that I did want to say about that episode, just jumping back for a moment, is that the way that Jimmy talks in that is actually a whole lot more interesting than the reaction that he gives, or that the kids give. Whereas in this episode, we're supposed to be fucking enthralled, and it's boring as fuck, boy. Like, it's
boy. There was actually just a portion where I just wrote the phrase "I am so bored" 86 times. Just as I was listening.
Were you copying and pasting, or were you just typing it out over and over again?
It became sort of a hypnotic. I just
all work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy.
Yeah.
Johnny.
I will be the tiny Tinkerbell ornament. I will be the tiny Tinkerbell ornament. And it.
Doing the shining sissy hypno version.
Oh boy. But there. We get to go back in time. We get to go back to Jerusalem. We get to experience
Bethlehem. Sorry, this is my bad.
No, you've cursed me. You fucked us all. So we're back to Bethlehem.
Yes,
and
that is the title.
Basically, we have Hamlet. Oops, all Fortinbras, because we're not actually going to talk a lot about Jesus' birth in this.
No,
it is mostly going to be a conflict about the innkeeper who ran the inn and all the various wacky characters that came through on the day.
Right. So this innkeeper in this is an imagination station adventure. So this is a character who has come out of the imagination. His name is Benjamin, and he sounds like this.
Get out before the Romans come and arrest you all. Go.
Who is Benjamin? The governor? The mayor?
You must be strangers here. I don't wonder with the accursed census. Everyone knows Benjamin, the owner of this inn.
That's who you are.
You have overrun the promised land.
So that was Benjamin right there at the top with his Yiddish accent.
That's Hal Smith doing his questionable Yiddish accent.
And later ends up actually saying some Yiddish words, and it's like, that's not the language people were speaking.
Can you hit me with an oi real quick?
Oi.
There we go.
Yeah. That's from The Star, where you can hear he has a much higher voice there. So we've got zealots, we've got Romans, we've got a lot of out-of-towners, but these two guys in the inn are not out-of-towners. Like, everybody knows Benjamin.
Of course,
here
it's
in
Benjamin.
Bethlehem,
It's the famous
where
Benjamin. Now, this is not a character from the Bible, to be clear.
It's just Benjamin.
There is an innkeeper who is mentioned in passing in the Bible, but this is an invented guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, as are most of the people, I believe, in this, right? Like Judah is also not.
Yeah, no, that's
Judah is invented. The Felix is invented. The Roman centurion is. They're all just totally made it. Hezekiah is invented. None of these guys are characters
Which is
from the
confusing,
scripture, because there is a Hezekiah.
I would argue that none of these guys are characters.
Not quite. No.
In general, but it is very fascinating that very clearly they are just like mouthpieces for all of the history that McCusker has learned and studied up for this episode.
So Eugenius establishes himself as Eugenius, That is the name that he chooses. And I guess because Whit is so concerned with accuracy that, in fact, if you are a woman and you go back in time in any of these adventures, this is what's going to happen to you.
Well, sir, will your servant girl work for me or not?
Your servant girl.
I apologize, Connie. It was absolutely necessary.
Was it?
She will, sir, for as long as we're visiting your fine town. At the current wage, of course.
Agreed. Good. Come along.
Okay, so I want to have a conversation here real quick. It's time we all sat down and had a conversation.
In these
about
unprecedented
this.
times.
These are things that need to be discussed.
Yeah.
The mechanics of the Imagination Station, as regards programming it.
Yes.
Yeah.
To what extent is an Imagination Station adventure driven by the imagination of the participants as opposed to what is written into the program?
It is practically never driven by the imagination of the participants because they're always thrown into situations that they do not expect.
Right.
They're like, what is this? Why is this name being said? Who are these people?
Yeah.
It is totally a scripted program that is
Written by
like,
Whit.
if you're a woman, you're going to spend the entirety of the Nativity story doing dishes and getting sexually harassed by various men, more than one.
Yeah. Also, I thought you couldn't manufacture the Christmas spirit in a video game, Whit.
Well, it's
Isn't that what this is?
No,
it's VR.
It's not a video game. They're using their imagination.
But there are full people having full inner
You
lives.
could never do
around
this
them.
in a cartridge, but you can do it on the radio.
It's also so weird to me every time we have these Imagination Station. I do appreciate that people just like buy into it immediately, right?
Yeah.
You have people who are like, yeah, I'll yes and any absolutely like violent or batshit thing that comes at me. But it is deeply weird that Connie at no point says, Whit, what is this?
Right.
Why are you making me do this?
Why are
right
you
now?
making me do this? And it's like at the very end we learn that there is a panic button.
Well, this is interesting too, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a sort of complicated piece of the Imagination Station lore, right?
Yeah.
How safe is it? There are times in which the Imagination Station is portrayed as having effectively no internal failsafe. Somebody can, from the outside, press the panic button, but inside you are fully immersed and there is no button. In this situation, though, yes, we are supposed to believe that they are in full control of the adventure at every step and therefore can choose, if they so desire, to opt out at any time.
And I think that it's interesting that they don't ever have the conversation about opting out, because I actually think that would make for a very interesting episode. Like if things are getting too intense in there, it's just like, hey, we should stop this. And then someone has to be like, no, let's keep going.
And I think it might. I can't speak. I can't speak well enough from memory, but I think there are a couple of moments that do that.
Oh, okay.
In later points. I mean, no, they don't do it to that lawyer weasel, do they? They run through that whole program, but like I think
that was the room of
points.
consequences, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's the same thing.
It's not though.
It's a separate room that does the exact same thing. It's just not in the Bible. It's the present now.
Well, the Bible or other biblical events such as the War of 1812.
Yes, I said the Bible.
Right.
I like to imagine that Whit just has a Bible that he's written American history into the back of. He's like, "Well, it's in the Bible."
So yeah, I mean,
this one.
I think we should then get to the point here where we hear a little bit more about Connie, right? And sort of what her deal is, because she is just made to be a complete slave. She is literally Eugene's slave. And she immediately gets fucking sexually harassed by a Roman centurion played by Earl Bowen.
Felix!
General, this is the inn we were told about. I was about to have this slave girl get you a room.
Slave girl? Surely not. She is not a slave. She is a beautiful princess.
Are you talking to me?
A princess in a pigsty, then?
On the contrary, Captain. Any place with a creature this lovely must be of the gods, not of pigs.
Who is this for, Whit?
Whit's just behind the glass going, "It's for me!"
Like, John, why did you do this? Like, presumably,
what is this teaching her?
Presumably, this is also, you have agency to make choices. Could you choose to fuck this centurion. We know later on that there is at least a fully rendered vagina giving birth to Jesus.
Sure.
Yeah.
So can this Roman centurion get an erection? Can you have sex in the imagination station playing out a sick military occupation fantasy from 2,000 years ago?
Well, you know what I have to say to that, Brian?
What do you have to say to that?
Boy.
Yeah, same.
What? Look, all I'm gonna say is that Earl Bowen must have really pulled in his life,
dude.
For sure.
Like, Jesus,
are you kidding me?
That bass baritone,
sheesh,
beautiful princess. Like, it's just like there is something that is so like. Well, first of all, I have so many questions about why Whit has programmed his arch nemesis to be in the imagination station.
Yeah, that is the voice of Regis Blackguard.
That is unmistakably the voice of Regis Blackguard.
That won't come back to bite Whit in the ass later. Many years later.
That's what he programmed Felix to do.
No, seriously.
To bite him in the ass.
No, but AJ, seriously.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh!
Cyberpunk. I talked about the Cyberpunk
It
Adventures
does
in
go
Odyssey
cyberpunk.
before. There's some Cyberpunk Adventures in Odyssey shit.
Oh, shit. Okay. So Whit fucks Regis Blackguard in the imagination station?
Yes.
Fan art. Can we get some fan art? Preferably in highlighter.
Fucking stop!
Some highlighter of Regis Blackguard.
Highlighter?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
I don't like to see any details.
Oh.
I want it to be all blurry.
You could just put it under a black light, though.
Well, not in my apartment. Or honestly, in the sound booth of the imagination station.
That's true.
So
I am so mad at you. We are fighting.
We can't.
Come on.
It's not.
Calm down.
This is the start of the holiday season, not the arguing season.
Let's talk about this work camel.
Work camel?
Well, because Connie decides that she is not going to take this at a certain point, right? That she's gonna stand up for herself.
Yeah,
She's
much like Mark Zuckerberg's sister, she's not gonna take it.
Yeah,
she is gonna girl boss her way through the Holy Land.
Right.
Yeah.
And we get this case of her standing up to Felix, who is the centurion who has mistaken her for a slave girl.
Well, Felix is only a captain now.
Yeah. No, he's a cat.
I see you weren't doing your research here. Felix is a captain.
Wait, is Felix Earl Bowen or is Felix Earl Bowen's assistant?
Felix is the captain. Earl Bowen is the centurion, and I don't know what his name is.
Right.
His name is Earl
I don't
Bowen.
either. We're just going to call him Earl Bowen.
Centurion Earl.
My name is Centurion Earl.
So Connie then learns, a stable, the way that you think of a stable, nah, it's not like that.
Yeah,
no. This is the Bible, miss.
Where's the stable?
Over there.
I don't see any stable, only a cave.
Exactly. You see, you were looking for something that resembled a barn, or possibly those structures you've seen in the Nativity scenes. Historically speaking, however, the stable might well have been inside a specially constructed cave.
This is just the experience of going to Protestant Sunday school.
Also, didn't
right?
they do this in the cave too? Didn't they do this exact same explainer in
the Star?
Did it say the cave?
No, in the
Star.
cave?
The Star.
No. The cave is on Tom Riley's farm.
No, I know.
Possibly. I don't know. But this is something that you get to fourth grade or whatever. And then your Sunday school class is like, it actually wasn't made out of wood, probably. It's probably just a cave. That they went
but
in.
Also maybe,
okay, cool.
but also maybe it was made of wood. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
not me.
This to me felt the most like a lot of the Disney Plus Star Wars shows, where it was like, what was the inn in Bethlehem up to when Jesus was being born? And I'm like, who cares?
It also is a little bit reminiscent of that really annoying Paul Revere episode that we listened to, where it was like Whit just being like, "Ding! Actually, the Old North Church was blah 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 blah
and
blah."
And then
blah,
he gets a bunch of shit wrong.
Yeah, and
like all of that was also incorrect.
Well, that's the thing, is that I feel like this episode is not as annoying to me as the Paul Revere one, because it isn't constantly being interrupted by Whit being like, actually.
Right.
But then they do every once in a while sneak in these actuallys. It's just Eugene saying it inside the imagination
But the reason
station.
why this feels like a Disney Plus Star Wars is because the Star Wars trilogies are the Bible. Right. And so they can't just tell the story of the Bible because people are going to get mad if they get extra scriptural with it, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
They're going to be mad if they get to the part where, Jesus is going to Egypt and he tames some dragons along the way when he's like 2 years old.
That's Thomas, right? I think that's Thomas.
It's Jesus.
No, I mean in the book of Thomas.
Oh, yeah, I think it's in one of the quote Gnostic Gospels, but you don't want to expound on like who Joseph and Mary are, because then you'll get the same problem that Scorsese had in the early 80s. You gotta tell the story from the side. You gotta find another perspective through which you will be able to illustrate this. If you want to tell the story straight on, then they'll do something like Whit talking to that girl who burned down the house with Donna, or you'll get the kids' radio stuff with little sketches or whatever. But if you're doing it, the imagination station, it's almost always like, here's the story of the White House burning down from the perspective of a girl who just happens to be standing across the street when it happens.
Right. So in terms of the perspective that we find here, then, it is from this character named Hezekiah, not to be confused with the biblical king of the same name.
Yeah, different Hezekiah.
This is, again, just a guy who has been invented for the sake of this particular holodeck adventure.
Who has lived a miserable life.
If you remember from the Star, we do run into a man who sees signs and wonders and receives prophecies and dreams. This man is nothing of the sort. He is a man of the book. He reads the scriptures. He interprets the signs that appear just as much as they would appear to anyone else. And he notes that the star that has now appeared above Bethlehem is a sign of the coming Messiah.
Right. So Eugene has a chat with him.
I am the only one who sees it. I alone believe.
I believe you, Hezekiah.
Such faith. Thank you. And what about you, Eugenius?
Oh, well, I think the historical ramifications are worthy of consideration.
You are speaking with your mind. Tell me from your heart. Do you believe it?
Oh, well,
no.
What specifically?
Do you believe in the coming Messiah, the King who will set us all free?
So this is the point at which you, as an audience member, are supposed to be yelling like, "Fuck you, Eugene! You gotta figure it out! Quit sitting on the fence and being a little fucking weenie, you
fucking
bitch!"
egghead.
Yeah.
Fucking thought boy. You gotta be faith boy.
Thought boy, T-H-O-T boy.
Yeah, and my reaction was, it seems like Whit really wants him to become Christian, and this feels pretty manipulative and awful.
He also wants to get Connie to do dishes more and shut the fuck up about it.
I mean, as her employer, I guess,
That has interesting ramifications. I just thought about that. The fact that she works at an ice cream parlor where she's constantly probably having to do dishes from these ice cream sundaes.
Yeah. Maybe Whit thinks that's what girls like to do. Is to do dishes, because that's all he ever sees Connie doing, is on the job doing dishes.
All girls do is do dish, eat hot chip, and lie.
His daughter fucked off because he kept beating the shit out of her. So clearly he's not great with women.
It's like, I'll stop hitting you once you say that the incursion in Vietnam is justified.
Gulf of Tonkin. Say it with me, sweetie. Gulf of Tonkin.
But yeah, this is like ultimately what we as listeners here are doing.
Yes.
If we have the programming, which I did.
Sure.
Did
you scream this, Josh?
I mean, well, I didn't use swears.
Sure. But were you upset with Eugene?
Yeah, of course.
You've got to have faith, buddy.
Yeah. What are you doing?
You have faith. I feel this is kind of an adaptation of the dialogues in the Gospel of John, right? It's Jesus talking to Nicodemus.
Sure.
Which is something that only appears in that gospel. Nicodemus is almost certainly a construct. Like, I don't think the gospel really presents Nicodemus as though he is a real person who is having these conversations.
Sure.
And it is just these two people going back and forth in the style of classical philosophical literature,
Plato
like
and
the
Socrates.
Republic. Yeah. And as a result, Paul McCusker is like, I'm going to walk through the whole, it's just C.S. Lewis. It's just fucking, it's just C.S. Lewis. That's all that these people know. That's the most intellectual engagement that they've ever had with any of this is C.S. Lewis.
I was actually just re-listening the other day to a little bit of our Screw Tape Letters episode, and not to jack myself off, but like I think we did a pretty we did a pretty great job with that episode. I thought,
and Emily really came in the clutch.
I mean,
for
it was
that one.
mostly Emily.
It was
Good to
mostly
have
an
Emily.
actual academic here
because it is the thing of it. It is the piece of like you are acting as if this is a dialectic, right? And that you're really trying to struggle through it. But in reality, all you want is to be led in one particular direction.
Yeah. Well, right, because Eugene is never offering any kind of counterclaim.
Right.
He is just saying, yes, this is, he uses the phrase, and I quote, "The historical ramifications are worthy of consideration," which is not in disagreement at all.
Right.
No. It reminds me a lot of, oh, you don't go to church? Well, we used to. Why'd you stop? I don't know. We just kind of did. It's not like they had any sort of like beef with the church or any sort of ideological standpoint. It's just that, oh, I don't know. I guess we just didn't want to anymore.
Yeah. And Eugene canonically at this point never did go to church.
Right.
He was raised by two parents who also didn't go to church, which I understand kind of changes a little bit in the late 2000s. But as we understand this character to be, he's just not. So he is engaging with this intellectually, and he understands some of the magnitude. I mean, like it. He says the historical ramifications are in fact worthy. They are worthy of consideration. I just want to drive that phrase home because it's like they're trying to make him say nothing, but he is also just totally going along with what Hezekiah is trying to tell him.
Well, and it's I think too it's this specific evangelical thing that we often see where it's like you have your matters of the mind and the matters of the heart, right?
Yeah.
And if you try to apply the matters of the mind to the matters of the heart and the matters of the soul, you're ultimately going to come up short. But if you go the other way around, if you let your sort of faith lead your thinking, you will be brought to the proper conclusions. It's C.S. Lewis, as you said.
Because you can also be led by matters of the heart in a way that are distracting to your faith.
Right.
In the case of a character named Judah.
Yeah.
And Judah here is a zealot. He is part of the many groups of resistance against the Roman Empire that existed at this time.
Yes. Right. Now, this again is another made-up guy.
Yes, isn't Simon the Zealot. It's a different dude.
And he is voiced by the one and only Nathan Carlson.
Dreamboat.
Who you might remember...
A lot of fan art about him.
Well, not of him, but of Richard Maxwell.
Yeah.
Who is
People
really
love it when he sucks and fucks and or gets sucked and or fucked by Regis Blackard.
Certainly. I mean, that is one of the sort of most when I back in the day that I was early on for this podcast looking into Adventures in Odyssey erotic fan fiction.
Right.
One of the best written ones for this podcast, obviously. One of the best written ones is one where it's that scene from Way Late in the Windy City where Richard Maxwell pulls a gun on Regis Blackard, except in this version of the story, it's a real gun, and he then forces Blackard to suck and fuck him. It's great. But if you go, so
it's just the end of Killer Joe.
I mean, yeah.
He beats Whit with like a can of pumpkin filling.
Tracy Letts is a huge Odyssey head.
I've started, becoming more engaged, unfortunately, with the modern Odyssey fandom because now that we're on Tumblr.
Well, you found them. They're so hard to find.
They are, but they're all on Tumblr and also on Facebook, I guess. But yes, I've been more active on our Tumblr page as of late. And one of the things that I'm often coming across is how horny people are, and specifically girls are, for Richard Maxwell.
Yeah.
And there is something about the performance here that we see from Nathan Carlson. It seems to have this edge to it.
It reminds me of is it Perchik, the revolutionary that
in Fiddler,
he I think some of these lines even feel like they're kind of lifted from that. He talks about rising up collectively against the Romans. Of course, we don't have his best line, which is never trust an employer. One of my favorite lines in Fiddler on the Roof. because that to him is the lesson of the story of Jacob and Laban.
It's also interesting, too, that this is a Jewish character and they are tapping into tropes of Jewish literature without understanding what they actually are.
Yeah, but thankfully it's not in a accent.
I mean,
unlike everybody else.
Unlike everyone else.
I can imagine Nathan Carlson being told to do the accent. He's like, I don't do
I'm
those.
good.
Yeah, no, I'm good, thanks.
So instead what we have here is a portrayal of a young revolutionary, right?
Yeah.
He is interested in rising up against the Roman government, and it is coming from a place of his belief in his faith and of his people.
And this is a really important part, at least of evangelical Protestant myth making, is the way that you set the idea of the true Messiah against what may have been the conception of a Messiah at the time that Jesus was born, where people are looking for the once in a generation, once in an eon figure to rise up and take the land back from the Romans. Whereas Jesus says, I am the Messiah, and does not lead a revolution. No. And in fact, leads a sort of revolution of the soul. And I think that is really at the core of where the rest of this trilogy is going to take us, at what they think the conflict is. So this episode ends with Judah pulling a knife on Felix, which leads to Chris going like, wah! And then the German is like, I'm not an ornament anymore.
Psych.
Bye. Okay. And then we get into episode 2, which has no more Germans.
No, thankfully.
No, he's gone. Does he ever come back?
The doctor? The
Yeah,
German?
do we get Dr. Julius
No, that guy threw the no-no door, dude.
None of Chris's friends ever show up. There's that plumber in the very first episode. You'll never hear from that
She's got a robot
again.
friend, too. That's when I went on Wat Fam Chalk Pod.
Yeah.
I listened to one where she had like a mailing robot that she talked to.
We don't talk about Chris's friends. Okay.
But I can turn into a tiny ornament. You don't want me to go to help out in any way?
Chris is just like living out this horrible little A24 life on the edge of town in like an abandoned building. She has all of her little figurines.
They come to life. But yes, we are now.
Hi, this is Chris. I just beheaded 4 people in order to serve my Lord and demon savior.
So yes,
Hail Paimon.
Part two, Hail Paimon starts with
Shalman.
Earl Bowen. Oh, that's something.
True. That's true.
Starts with
Different guy.
Earl Bowen
They went to college
through
together.
Shalman
and Paimon, yeah.
Oh, did they kiss?
No, but they went to some further bases than that. They just never kissed.
Oh,
because then it would be gay.
It would be gay.
Yeah.
Can I keep going now?
I mean, I'm still kind of picturing them doing the other
Josh,
stuff.
please keep going.
Okay,
I mean, go ahead.
So this episode begins with Earl Bowen, the Roman centurion, whose name is Earl Bowen in our canon, coming through to intimidate the locals, right? And the natives are getting restless here because there's no room at the inn.
Yeah, the whole place is just full.
It's Firefest.
Down! There are no rooms left here. Go to the inn down the road.
We just went there and they sent us to you.
They made a mistake. Every room is taken.
Doggone it.
Good.
What should we do?
I don't know. What am I, a tour guide?
I love that the census of Caesar Augustus has brought one guy to Bethlehem all the way from Texas. He's like, what am I supposed to do? I am a descendant of King David and his father Jesse. I gotta go back there, otherwise Caesar Augustus is gonna get a bad count.
That feels like a very Danny McBride bit for some reason, doesn't it?
I was just trying to get to fucking Bethlehem. Ride on a fucking camel, and then my fucking camel got hurt.
My teenage pregnant wife, who I did not sire the baby inside of. About ready to pop.
A baby inside of her who was not produced by the sperm that came out of me. Connie, meanwhile,
Just keep going.
is continuing. Well, I've killed Brian. for Connie, on the other hand, sparks are continuing to fly between her and Judah, right?
Yeah.
Well, very one-sided.
It's one way
Judah's got
sparks.
some sparks. Judah's sparking on her.
Judah's sparking all over her.
Judah's like, step on me, Connie.
Pretty much. And Joseph, meanwhile, comes through. Joseph from the Bible.
Who is also
Bible? Who's played by Danny McBride.
No, who's also played by the guy who plays George Barkley.
Oh, shit.
That's also
It's
Chuck
like,
Bolte?
It's just like, oh, we were just here.
Yeah. He comes through and he's like, oh man, you got to help me. My wife's having a baby.
Yeah.
And that woman's name who's having a baby, you know what it is?
Because I'm gonna lash out the moon. I'm gonna pull it down.
Her name is Mary. And Hezekiah is also freaking out. Everybody's freaking out.
It's like House of Cosby's, but it's all House of Jimmy Stewart's.
All House of Jimmy's.
And so this is where we start to see some of this episode's opinion on gendered division of labor.
Oh, yes.
Do I have that one?
I think so. I think clip 25 is
Oh,
there.
right.
No. I take that back. It's not. Shoot.
Oops.
Sorry.
I'm a professional, folks.
No, that was my bad. But we get a whole bunch of shit in here about like, well, we women, like the ladies that are talking to Connie.
Yeah, the
and
ladies
shit,
are all
they're-
cooking, and it's very difficult work. And Connie's
Yeah.
like, I usually just take the plastic off and throw it in the microwave.
Right.
And everybody in the Imagination Station does this thing that you always have to deal with if you're making immersive theater that's any kind of period piece.
Sure.
Where like someone's gonna say something about the president or cell phones, and then you're gonna be like, what is that? What is that word you said?
Right.
Self.
Right.
And then it's like, no, this is a bad idea. Don't ever do this. Everybody in the Imagination Station is like, oh, I am programmed to tell a Bible story, but now I'm going to spend 5 lines of dialogue really harping on this strange word you just gave me.
Fucking
like,
stupid.
microwave.
Okay, this is a very huge stick in my craw. At the very beginning of this episode, Whit says, "Well, I don't actually have any stories for you, but you know what I do have? This story I wrote in code." Like it's such a fun
That he narrates. You hear him narrating at the beginning.
So yeah. Anyway, they're like, "What's a cell phone?"
Yeah.
And then,
well, we also get some nice dialogue in here about the modern state of shepherding, and for that I know we do have the clip.
Yes.
Doing a lot of heavy
meet
lifting
some
in that
guys,
sense.
and these guys turn out to be
I'll talk to him when we get back. We're leaving to brave the wilderness with the flock for a few days.
Brave.
Yes, brave. It takes great amounts of courage and strength to fight off the ravages of boredom and the relentless monotony. But it's quiet.
I hear that.
Quieter than Bethlehem recently. Where we go,
This
nothing
voice is
happens.
all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Just perfectly.
This guy is playing this role word by word. Fighting off the ravages of boredom.
It does feel vaguely like he's trying to do a Mel Brooks impression.
Yeah. The 2,000-year-old shepherd. So these, of course, end up being the shepherds.
Right. From the Bible?
From the Bible.
Oh my God.
They only show up right at the very end. I was like getting to the end and I was like, why did I clip this? These guys don't even come back by the end of this. And they barely show up right when the story ends.
Well, you clipped it for that great transition music, right?
Well, yeah, so then we get I'm just gonna play. I don't have any good setup for this.
Strange girl.
Go ahead and laugh now, cowboy, but you ain't seen nothing yet.
We get a slide guitar.
So,
yeah, because
this
cowboy.
is your home?
A humble
Yeah, because
house.
cowboy.
Yeah, but like, he's not a cowboy. We're not in that place. I guess
because okay, so you know what that is, right? Like
it's a slide guitar.
It is a slide guitar, but do you know like exactly what it's referencing? It's fucking Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Do you think that's what it is?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the
How?
it's the cowboy song in Joseph and the
Sure,
Amazing
it
Technicolor
has a
Dreamcoat.
cowboy song, but I think they just already had a cowboy song because they sometimes do cowboy stuff. And they're like,
but what
haha, she said cowboy.
No,
let's
no,
throw
but
this
what I
in.
mean is that like putting those sort of disparate musical styles into Bible stories,
Oh, sure.
I think very
Okay.
much came from Joseph. I think that could be an inspiration for it.
Sure. Yeah, and it would be interesting to know what their opinion on Joseph is. I've never
They probably like
heard
it.
one
Christians
way or
usually
another.
like that show.
Not as much as
Mormons
Mormons.
love it.
Those Mormons fucking, they want Andrew Lloyd Webber to be a Mormon. Well, and he's probably been, that's the nice thing about being a
He's
Mormon.
been
You can
baptized.
baptize yourself.
He's already been baptized, no
Which,
doubt about
that's
it.
a crime. Someone baptizing them like on behalf
I don't want to live on his
of
planet.
Andrew Lloyd Webber. Well, you won't live on that planet for sure.
No.
Yeah, on his planet? No,
Golub
definitely
is
not.
off limits to you.
No. But specifically the one that he gets control of, it's just going to, you know what he's going to do? He's going to put Tim Rice there and then no one else. So he just gets to watch Tim Rice suffer for the rest of eternity.
I'm into it. So, yes.
I've got an idea, Tim. A new musical, and you have to hear the whole pitch.
So the next bit that we get here is Eugene checking in once more with Hezekiah, right? Because he's a woodworker,
and this is a really important little snatch of dialogue. That snatch?
Goodness.
It's,
No.
It's
It's
a really
really important
second
snatch.
most.
I know.
It's the second most important snatch in the story.
Yeah, I know why it's on your mind. It's
Oh,
because
Jesus.
it's because Connie has to reach inside of Mary's cooch.
Yeah.
Midway through this story.
So this is a little bit of dialogue that is bewilderingly to AJ important.
Hezekiah, how long have you believed that the child would come?
How long? As long as I can remember. My father taught me as his father taught him. And as a rebellious young man, I searched the scriptures for myself. And I could not deny
That rebellion
what I
of
found.
reading the Bible.
The prophet spake of his coming. So I hoped and prayed it would be in my lifetime, and thanks be to God it is.
But how could you believe for so long without proof, without evidence to support your theory?
Theory? You are still speaking with your mind, you genius. What I believe is found in the place where the mind and the heart unite.
And where is that?
Taint.
In your taint. God damn it.
He says,
Sniped you, motherfucker.
Yes,
You did.
but more importantly, you sniped the clip. It's faith. I'm playing it again.
The whole thing?
No. Shut up.
Okay.
Hush.
The child.
The place where the mind and the heart unite.
And where is that?
Faith.
There we go.
I thought it might have been Alf. I thought maybe it was going to be.
I'm gonna play this again, goddammit.
You thought that I had dreamed up the perfect clip where I would start playing it again. Like I knew you would interrupt it and then be like, oh, I'll just play it again. And then it's a Simpsons quote the second time.
I thought
Honestly,
maybe that was.
I would not put it past you.
Yeah, me neither.
No, I'm just not that smart though.
No, I disagree entirely. But okay, so that was. Yeah, it's the holiday season, motherfucker.
It's not the arguing season. It's
not the complimenting
fucking holiday season. Go fuck yourself. It is the holiday season.
I don't feel good anymore. You guys got mad at me in a nice way.
I want you to look me in my lazy eye, and I want to tell you, go fuck yourself.
So, that happened.
So it's faith. No, but talk about why this is important to me. Because to me, I listened to this scene, I'm like, oh, okay, sure. This is the same argument that was made a little earlier, but just more.
I could tell you, but I'm not going to because you will find out in a couple of months.
Okay, when
but just
Eugene
that,
gets
it is
saved?
very important, Hezekiah, that you are still thinking with your mind, you genius, with Parley Bear's raspy old man voice. This is just trust me.
Okay.
Just let your mind and your heart meet and show some fucking faith in me.
Right? No, of course. I keep all my faith for you in my taint.
Sometimes I feel like this whole show.
That's why it's so long and floppy.
It's just one extended trust fall exercise.
And I fail you every single
No,
time.
because here's the thing.
Yeah.
We're all in free fall.
I'm free.
We are catching each other, but we are forever falling because there is no bottom. We are in Max Payne's hole.
It's true.
Falling forever in Whit's Endless Summer.
This is Whit's Endless Summer, motherfucker.
It's not a lake. It's a summer.
It's not a lake. It's a summer.
So the last big piece that I wanted to talk about with regard to this episode specifically, part two, is just that Judah is really going hard for Connie and probably is hard for Connie.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, wait, it's weird that in sort of an immersive simulated environment, you would have...
You can see anything.
That you would have sort of a character who is so aggressively like forward towards you, who you might want to fall in love with. And then I realized, this is basically a video game. You're right. It is basically a video game. And I fell in love with a character named not Judah, but Judy in Cyberpunk 2077. So I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
She turned you lesbian.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't know about y'all, but I did not get that from Connie that this was like a reciprocated thing.
Not really,
so
no.
much.
No.
And it is really fucking creepy.
Well, here is how he hits on her.
Yeah.
Let's just listen to some of this.
Seriously, Judah, I
Don't say it. I know this is childish. I can't entertain these thoughts, these ridiculous feelings. We live in a very dark world, a world of oppression. There's no room for love here. Only rebellion and hate.
Wow, everything's an extreme with you, isn't it?
It's so interesting. Rebellion itself must be an extreme.
Yeah.
Rebellion itself must be hateful.
Yeah.
Right.
That this show is always, as in the evangelical tradition, valorizing complicity and passivity.
Yeah.
It does not dream of a future where anyone uses agency to rise up against an oppressor, although it is perfectly fine for the oppressor to enact their will, as so many Christians in America are happy to do.
Because this is a conservative show. And obviously, I mean, that's not a revelation, but I do think it's interesting, again, that like these characters, whether it's Richard Maxwell, who is just this
same
guy,
actor.
but it's the same actor, and it's the same guy, but in real life, how he is always portrayed as being the venerable bad boy of Odyssey, and yet he is many people's favorite character.
Yeah.
Because he has fire in his guts,
Well, he has a personality, right? We talked about when we did the episode Richard Ditchard Redemption.
Yes.
How he has a redemptive arc that's actually convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He feels like an actual guy.
Yeah. And at the end, he makes Blackguard suck him off.
With a gun.
Look, I think
he's his number one with a bullet.
Yeah, and again, but here's the thing, though, right?
God complex, baby.
Judah is not real.
Yeah.
Not even in the sense of Odyssey, right? In the way that Connie is not real. Within the universe of Odyssey, Judah is a bunch, is a line of code
thing that is just bothering her.
And that is programmed by John Avery Whitaker.
Right,
and
right.
this is where things get fucking awful.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. Whereas Judy Alvarez from Cyberpunk 2077 is real and is
loves
my
you.
wife.
Yes, and is your wife. But also just as a note going forward, if you want to have a lot of fun with the Imagination Station episodes, just
you
imagine
play as female V.
Yes, you got to play as female V, but also imagine all of them with PS1 graphics.
That's funny.
All the people are real, but it's just like the most sharp polygonal awful bullshit.
I'm gonna do that from here on out. That's very funny.
It's like when people play Skyrim, but they've like de-resed it down to like RuneScape graphics.
Right.
Hell yeah.
It's got CD quality audio, but only 32-bit quality graphics.
Why won't you love me? And he just like raises one arm slowly and then
just
slowly
his
back
hand
down.
is a triangle.
Yeah.
It's the fucking... It's just like the fucking guy from Alone in the Dark, where like the sword is just like a single polygon.
Well, and speaking of swords, so now we're into part 3.
Yeah.
Generalissimo Earl Bowen has shown up. The Grand Marshal Earl Bowen. Field Marshal, not Grand Marshal. Grand Marshal of the parade.
Meanwhile, Judah has proposed that Eugene sell Connie to him.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so he wants Connie as well. So then,
a love triangle is forming here between Judah, Earl Bowen, and Connie.
Yeah. He is kind of a Miles Gloriosus figure. And Miles Gloriosus, of course, said in the famous Plautus play, "I am a parade." How about that?
Wow.
That is true. Look it up.
Sorry,
in the Bible.
I did just want to clarify one thing. It's not a love triangle, because that would imply that Connie is a participant. It's more like a love V, where both
female V.
Yeah, female V.
Female V. Where both of these two people are targeting the same person, but she has no interest in that.
Yeah, truly none at all.
These two then get into a sword fight with each other. We just get to have a sword fight.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have a little scene where they go clank, 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 and Connie's like, oh no!
That right there is so much better than what it actually sounds like.
Oh boy, did we clip
No.
Hal Smith saying Mazel Tov?
We did not. No, he says it twice.
Oh no.
This was one of the funniest things because like I had never heard that phrase before as a kid.
Oh, sure.
I was not around any Jewish people.
And then you moved to New York.
And but as a kid, I always assumed that because the way the phrase Mazel Tov is said at any point in Adventures in Odyssey, it's always sarcastic.
Oh.
And so I always thought Mazel Tov was like who cares? Instead of actually like, oh, wonderful, congratulations.
Yeah.
So that's just he says it very dryly both times. Even after Jesus is born, he's
it is the most goy pronunciation of Mazel Tov since I just said Mazel Tov just now.
So of course the stuff happens. Mary has a child. Everything just sort of resolves.
Yeah.
This tension between Rome and the zealot. The centurion is a man with a level head, and therefore the level head prevails.
Well, and speaking of the Goyim, there is a very uncomfortable anti-Semitic overtone, in my opinion, to Earl Bowen's attraction toward Connie, where he's comparing her with the other girls. Who all have rougher hands and don't have the same like refined and elegant features that one would find back home in Rome. And you know, if this was a deliberate character choice, that would be one thing, but I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Like that could, in a much better show, that could be like a site of like, this guy is a racist piece of fucking shit.
Yeah.
But this just seems to be an opinion that perhaps is shared by some of the writers.
We also get
allegedly.
We also get a really nice seize them.
I slander.
I love it. I
love a good seize them?
I love a good seize them.
Yeah.
Seize him. Seize anyone.
Seize her.
I always love a good minions.
Yeah, that's also good. I don't care.
I don't even care when it references. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do the challenge. It didn't reference the Challenger explosion.
100% referenced the Challenger explosion.
No, this episode of Adventures in Odyssey did not reference the Challenger explosion. You're right,
you.
AJ.
That's
Congratulations.
That's true.
Mazel
Now
tov.
the Minions movie.
But
you're using it sarcastically.
Anyway, it all wraps up pretty cleanly, right? Where Earl Bone's kind of like, okay, well, I don't want you to be my girlfriend anymore. And also Judah becomes obsessed with the revolution again, and there's no space for bitches in the revolution. And the adventure just kind of ends.
Yeah. Well, Jesus is born. Connie and Eugene are looking at this baby in the manger. Eugene is having a little moment, and then it just abruptly stops.
Hey, what happened? I wasn't ready to come back. Whit, why did you bring us back?
Well, I didn't. One of you must have pushed the button.
Well, I didn't. Eugene, why did you... Eugene, are you crying?
I'm not crying. It must be my allergies. All the hay in that stable.
He's had a profound response to all of this, but
I would just like to think that maybe this is the first time he's ever seen a baby before. And he's just like, you mean it's like a human, but small?
There is an interesting question that is raised here, which is obviously he is using the "it's my allergies" as an excuse. However, the question is, could you have an allergic reaction to something that happens in the imagination station?
Can the imagination station, in fact, trigger a histamine response?
Right.
Yeah, again.
It can hurt you.
God,
we know that.
Genuinely, it would be so much easier if it were just a fucking time machine. You know,
like they were just actually there, but
if
you
we were
can't
just Doctor Who.
But you can't like have a time machine and then prevent the crucifixion of Jesus.
Right.
That gets into very dangerous Greek novel territory.
Well, but they didn't prevent the crucifixion of Jesus in the imagination station either.
You could. You could do that if it was a time machine.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But then it would be cool. Then, okay, so that's stopped. So what's happened? And they come back to the present. And hey, you want to be a propaganda show? What's the world without Christianity? Yeah.
I think that's a little too spicy. They do actually do this once. There's an episode where a kid goes into the imagination station, and part of the module, I guess, is to show that, preventing history causes bad things to happen. So this one kid has been discouraged from being a dork ass by his friends.
Sure.
And Whit's like, there was another kid who was a dork ass once. Why don't you meet him? And this kid keeps breaking shit. This kid that he meets in the imagination station. He's like, I'm trying to come up with all these new fancy things. And the kid's like, you know what? You got to be like me and give up.
Sure.
And
that man's name was
Thomas Edison.
Right.
Oh, I thought it was John Avery Whitaker.
No, so
That would be
instead,
amazing.
That would be
the
incredible.
kid comes back to the present, quote
Sure.
and unquote, where he is still in the imagination station,
Right.
of course.
It's the bad
and the
future,
simulation is now John Avery Whitaker, local inventor / ice cream shop owner. It now has to do magic lantern presentations instead of the imagination station, which we only have because of Thomas Edison.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, thank God for that guy who invented so many things that he totally
including
invented.
the light bulb. Yeah.
Including the light bulb. But here's the thing. Here's the reason why I think all the crucifixion stuff and the Last Supper and the Passion episodes work better than this one.
Yeah.
It's because everyone in Jerusalem at the time of the Passion is talking about Jesus and about this trial, right? It is a focal political point that you could be like, yeah, historically, that makes sense. But the birth of Christ in the actual historical world doesn't mean anything to any of the main characters in this story.
No, it's
so
totally...
it doesn't matter. This could have been said in any time in Roman history, and it would have been the same thing.
It's a totally anonymous event, other than, I guess, Hezekiah, who saw a star.
Yeah, and
Who is
that
not a real guy.
No.
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't even matter if he's real, but it also just matters that, like, he should be actively taking more of a part in the birth. Like, it doesn't really, like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
What?
He's a man.
Okay.
That's against the rules.
Okay.
It's against the rules. You can't do that if you're a man.
Can't give birth.
He's a dude.
You can't help out with the birth.
It's women's
help
work.
it. Oh, it is the
They
woman's
talk
work.
about that. That's why Connie has to help the baby of Jesus get born out of Mary's
Whit
vagina.
has fully simulated labor.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, is that all the graphics are PS1 except for the vagina, which is fully rendered 4K.
Yeah. All right. Now we're cooking with gas, baby. So
just in time to be over.
So this wraps up another
It was his wife's
fantastic
vagina.
episode. Oh God,
Jenny.
of Whit's Endless Summer. And
Jenny.
we hope you've enjoyed it. What the fuck should we take away from any of this?
I know what we can take away from it.
Okay.
We have a Patreon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we can take away from it is give us money.
Yeah, why don't you sell them on the Patreon, Josh, and then I'll
Sure.
tell them what we can take.
Yeah,
away
I'd
from
love
this.
to. So
I'm going to take a hard turn into Seriousville.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I'll keep this light and breezy, which is to say that for $5 a month at patreon.com/worstofall, you can get access to all of our episodes, including the premium ones, which we do every other week. Additionally, you can get access to Fancy Movie Time with Brian and AJ, which is a show where Brian and AJ talk about fancy movies, including this month we're doing
a double feaster. This month we are doing The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, and we're also doing The Exterminating Angel, which are the two movies that the Sondheim's last musical, Here We Are, is based on. So please join us for that, because it's going to be a fun time. I've not watched the movies yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be a fun time.
Hell yeah. And if you kick us $10 a month, you'll also get access to Lads Cast. That is the direct-to-tape unedited show that we put out every month. And this month, we're going to be giving our thoughts about Cyberpunk 2077 that we weren't able to fit into the Cyberpunk 2077 episode.
And specifically as it relates to the DLC Phantom Liberty,
which we have all played through in its entirety. So
join us and grab a few Johnny Silverhand drinks, because we'll certainly be
Thank you for saying
some.
drinks, because then it just sounds very different.
Grab Johnny Silverhands.
With pleasure.
Hands on his hard body.
Okay. So 2,000 years ago, something happened that seemed like absolutely nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was born. It's a very common event.
Yeah.
Tradition holds that this event happened in Bethlehem as the fulfillment of a prophecy. And at the supposed site, at the site that is, according to a very, very long chain of possession by various church entities, that spot lies basically right there in the middle of town at the Church of the Nativity. This church is a very interesting one in the history of Christendom. You know, some of the structure was built by the ancient Romans under Constantine. There are saints that are tied to this place. Saint Jerome was believed to have been buried under there, although his remains are no longer in that spot. When it was built, that was still when the Samaritan revolts were still going on. So if it's not the place where the stable was, it's been believed to be such for a very, very long time.
And ultimately, these are how traditions and myths work, is that oftentimes the value is in the legend, this tale, the myth, more than the thing itself.
As Eugene said, the historical ramifications are worthy of consideration. Now, this place is run by a number of different Christians, and you can see problems that arise because of that. There is something referred to as the status quo at the Church of the Nativity, which is that basically nothing can change. There is rather infamously a ladder that is hanging outside of a window that no one can move because you have Syriac Christians, you have Coptic Christians from Egypt and Ethiopia, you have Armenian Christians, you have Catholics, you have Greek Orthodox. All of these people occupying different parts of this large stone complex, this monastery and church and also pilgrimage site.
So they're all still living there, worshiping there, right in Bethlehem.
And as people who are part of the long history of Christendom, none of them get along.
Of course.
Sure.
And so any kind of decision that is made quite in quite a difficult fashion.
Right.
As such, Christmas itself is celebrated at different times. For the Western Church, of course, it is December 25th on the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah.
For the Orthodox, it is December 25th on the Julian calendar, meaning the early in January. And in the Armenian tradition, it happens at the end of January.
Oh, right, because that's when the wise men supposedly came through or whatever, and they're commemorating
I'm not
that, I think.
Sure about what it means for the Armenian tradition, but it's just people have different days that they celebrate this. But the point of the matter is that, as always, with the long tradition of everything, even that predates Christianity, we have these moments, as the song says, in the bleak midwinter, where the value of that time is that we huddle together, protect ourselves from the elements, and find community with each other. This year, Christmas celebrations are being put on hold in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is in the West Bank, a place that is officially part of Palestine, but constantly its own sovereignty is being undermined by settlement, by bombardment, by harassment and crime of a state that seems like it is not content at any point to stop growing. We live in a similar state ourselves.
We certainly do.
One that, to say it is complicit or enabling even, it doesn't seem to be appropriate. It is the leader of that state. It has created an ally for itself in a part of the world where it has no business being. And that is by creating a state entity, right? This is not about the rights of people to have a home. And it is, in fact, against the rights of people to have a home, to have security, to have community. And to have all of these different Christians who can't get along on where a ladder should go, canceling big events, taking down, not even erecting the tree in Bethlehem. And just down the street, there is a Lutheran church that was built in the early 19th century. They have put up their nativity display. And that display has all of their wooden figurines that who knows how old they are, little camels, wise men. And they have set the child not in a manger this year, but among broken concrete and rebar and dust. Because not very far away from the West Bank in Gaza, there will be, statistically, it's inevitable that there will be a child born on December 25th in the rubble of Gaza who may not make it to the light of morning. And all of this is done with the full support, and initiation even by Western Christians who cannot allow even the unity of singular belief in this one historical event to draw people together. And this is the thing that is represented so much by this show, by this entertainment that we talk about, by these things that we grew up in, a total ignorance, a malice, and a violence that is always ignored, suppressed, and obfuscated. Because the only violence we allow ourselves to recognize as violence is the violence of resistance. And so I want you to go into your Christmases to understand that we are all people together on this one single fragile earth. And all of us deserve to be safe and deserve to live. I'm the worst of all possible Bryans.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. See you next week.